Good morning and welcome to day 3 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. May the Fort be with you. I'm Delaine from Hinton Brand Dealerships, and I'm your co-host for this galaxy-changing event. We've been waiting for you, and we meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master. And we hope you'll be a master too after hearing from the lineup of Jedi speakers we have coming up today on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Like to remind you about our intergalactic chat feature on the right side of your screen. We encourage you to have cosmic conversations with other attendees. Just make sure that you select everyone and not just host and panelist. Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi, and something many fixed ops directors have had to come face to face with over the past couple years. If you want to become a Jedi Master in fixed ops, grab a lightsaber and pull up a seat for this morning's keynote with Ed Roberts of Bozard Ford Lincoln.
Ed Roberts is the Chief Operations Officer at Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, Florida. We have had a chance to get to know Ed and his organization over the last number of years at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and he has been very instrumental, not only in his organization's growth, but in that of all of fixed operations awareness, especially here at this conference. And I want to welcome Ed Roberts, our keynote speaker today, to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Good morning, Ted. It's good to be here, and thanks for having me.
Ed, my pleasure, and our audience is always drawn to what Ed Roberts has to say. We saw you at the NADA show. Congratulations on that, on becoming an NADA speaker. And you have certainly been making your mark all over retail. And I've heard it said that when Ed Roberts speaks, people listen, to coin an old commercial phrase.
Well, the idea is to give back and to inspire others to bring out the best in the people that they have working for them. So I love the opportunity to be able to give back and share what we do and share our successes and learn how to continue to get better, because we are truly on a journey. There is no destination, so we've never arrived. It's a constant path that we got to keep traveling down.
And I think we're at a critical juncture right now in the retail automobile business, Ed. We've come out of this last 2 years with a lot of change, and a lot of things got implemented that we didn't realize, how they would work until we actually had a chance to do them. And the last year in 2021 was a pretty incredible one. All the way around for dealers, with a lot of pleasant surprises in there, and maybe this year we're having to work a little bit harder on things because the market continues to evolve and change. So I'm interested in your perspective on where we've come and where we're headed.
Well, let's talk about that for a few minutes. Because 2021 made us all look like heroes, and here we are almost halfway through 2022. And we look like heroes again. But I want to tie that back to, and I'm not thankful that we had a pandemic, because there's ultimately a lot of things that went along with that. But I am thankful for the change that it brought to our industry. This is an industry that's always been very resistant to change and very resistant to adapting to new things that come out. And when the pandemic first hit, it forced everyone's hand to make some changes that we should have made years ago, and finding ways to meet customers at their level, because the customers had a fear to come out. So finding ways to meet them at their level with mobile service, with pickup delivery, with remote sales deliveries, virtual test drives, just escalating the use of videos that we've had forever, just never really used them. E-signatures, we've been buying houses with e-signature for years, but didn't bring it over to automotive. And now we've kind of tied those things together. And so when a lot of that happened in 2020, but ultimately it set us up for the year that we had in 2021, because we started meeting customers at their level, where it was kind of cool to do business with a car dealer again. Not to say that we've overcome all those obstacles, but it certainly created an opportunity for us to find ways to meet them at their level. And look at what it did for us in 2021, Ted.
And Ed, you as a leader had a lot of challenges. I remember watching vividly on social media those meetings you had with your staff in the mornings outside of the dealership. They were outside, and I remember how you were motivating the team in light of everything that was happening around them, and that caught the attention of a lot of people, Ed. That you not only inspired the consumers, but you inspired first your team, and your faith in that team, and that really speaks to your leadership, Ed.
Well, when something happens to us, Ted, we get locked in on it. When we have someone that's sick in the family or other things that happen to us, we get locked in on that, and we don't look at the other side. And there is another side to it. Things happen, things change, and the idea is to keep looking to the other side of it. Things will change. Things will get back to what is a new normal, not the old normal. And we have to make sure that we keep painting that picture that, hey, there is another side to this. Let's work through it. Let's make the best of it. Let's not get locked into where we're at. It's not doom and gloom. Let's push through and make sure that we understand that there is another side to this, and work towards that, and put ourselves in position to be who we want to be on the other side of it. So that was the purpose of those meetings, to just keep everybody looking forward rather than holding their head down and wondering, oh my God, what's going to hit us next.
And in terms of fixed operations, Ed, and I know you're overseeing, Ed, how many total employees now at the Bozard organization do you oversee?
308. We have grown a little bit over the years. It's been 10 years. This is my 10th year here at Bozard, and we was in the 40s 10 years ago, and we're almost tenfold now. 10 years later, it's been a fun ride.
40 some employees 10 years ago, and now what's the number again?
308.
Wow.
And we're not stopping there.
I can tell. And you've done a lot of innovative things in the last 2 years, Ed, with the new, not only with the new facility, but new thinking as well, in terms of, how to retain your customer base, make your dealership a destination. You've really thought out of the box. Talk to me about fixed operations. I know you very much still have your hand in that. What do you see where we are right now and where we're headed?
So where we're at now is it's an opportunity for us to continue to grow. The industry has kind of been held back with VIN share, and we look at how do I retain my share of the customers, and we go out and we try to conquest new customers, but the best conquest is retention. Let's retain what we have, and then when we retain what we have, we don't give them a reason to go shop another brand. And we have a pandemic of our own in our own industry that's coming in front of us, and we got to make sure that we're prepared for it. And that's the conversion to EV. And whether we want to accept it or not, it's coming. I mean, for us, we got a Lightning out there. We have a Mustang Mach-E. We got some Lincoln products that are coming. But it's not just for us on the Ford brand. It's the industry chatter. And historically, this industry has reacted to things, and we've reacted to other people coming out in front of us and preparing themselves better for what's in front of us. And then we got to react to prevent our customers from defecting to them. Well, let's make sure that we prepare ourselves now today for the pandemic that's coming our way in our industry. And that's the shift from ICE to BEVs. And there's a lot of resistance because ICE is still going to be, ICE will be there. The ICE is going to be there for as long as we're alive, dead. But the opportunity to prepare ourselves for the future and to embrace BEVs as they come in, because we will see a double-digit percentage of EVs in the market in this decade, and we got to prepare for that. So let's say that we keep the same VIN share that we have now. The national average is 30%. We run in the mid 70s, so we're fortunate there. But let's say that we retain that same level at ICE, and BEVs come into let's just call it 10%, a double-digit percentage in this decade of market share, and we retain all of those. Now we've moved our VIN share from 30 to 40%, and that's what we're going to have to do going forward, because the vehicles are not going to need as much service. They are going to need service. They're still going to need tires. They're going to need wiper blades. They won't need brakes as much because of regenerative. They're still got systems in the vehicle that are still going to need work. They're going to have sunroofs. They're going to have AC systems. They got electrical systems. We're going to have some battery issues here and there. We're going to have some electric motor issues here and there. We're going to have window motor issues. So there's still going to be opportunity for us, but there's not going to be that twice a year visit to the dealer for an oil change and various things there. And we're going to have more tire issues simply because there's not going to be that scheduled time frame where you come to the dealer and get the tires rotated when you change the oil. So we're going to see vehicles with 20,000 miles on it. Tires never been rotated. And so there's still going to be service opportunities, but they're going to lessen. And let's say those vehicles visit us once a year. Well, we're going to have to move that VIN share to 60% if we're going to see the same number of vehicles with the frequency being down. So it's an opportunity for us to make that shift and to make sure that we have the right infrastructure for us. So let's look at it from both sides of it. Tow trucks, really, another form of a tow truck coming forward is going to be a mobile charge unit. We're going to have to go to these vehicles that somebody took the chance to try to get somewhere and didn't quite make it to where they needed to be, and they're not at a charger. They're not there, and we got to go to them and rescue them. And we can go tow it somewhere, or we can go give them a 40 or 50 mile charge and get them back on the road to where they're going. And that's an opportunity for us to get in front of that rather than the tow companies and AAA and those companies getting out in front of us. But also there's opportunities for us as we sell these vehicles to customers that's never had an electric vehicle to sell infrastructure in our F&I department. And what I say by that is we need to put together charger programs to where if someone hasn't had it, that we'll set everything up for them to sell them a package in F&I as a product to where someone goes out to their home, installs a charger, goes over everything with them, and now they have the infrastructure to be able to continue on with that electric vehicle, because there's still going to be some of that fear. Where do I get a charge at? Where do I do this? And Tesla's done a good job of putting these things out there in places where you go grocery shop or do whatever while you're getting a charge. But we need to be able to do it at the convenience of our customer's home. And when they can do that, and some of our vehicles can transfer that power back and power their home if there's an outage. So that infrastructure needs to be there, and that's an F&I product for us, because our F&I products will change as these vehicles change, and we got to make sure that we're prepared to do that. But we got mobile units, we got F&I packages, but let's create opportunities for these customers to come back to the store as well, and so that we can rotate those tires at a 10,000 mile interval rather than a 20,000 mile interval. And we can, so we can do that with various different things, with detail programs or various different things, or a annual health checkup. Those are things that we got to prepare ourselves for going into the future, because if we don't, somebody else will, and we'll be still back here trying to figure out, how do I get my customer back? How do I get my customer back? And that doesn't do any of us any good.
You talked recently, and by the way, extremely fascinating what you're saying right now about not only that infrastructure at the dealership level, but at the consumer's home, okay, as well as out in the field. You talked recently, Ed, about building service packages for what you're addressing right now, for those visits at the dealership that are going to bundle perhaps different things together, where in the past, and even today, of course, they're considered a la carte if the customer even chooses to have them done. But you've talked about bundling that and packaging that. Talk to us a little bit about that, and maybe how you foresee right now, today, May of 22, how that might look.
Well, it looks like, I mean, in the past, we used 30,000, 60,000, kind of 30,000 mile interval for the big checkup of your vehicle.
Yeah.
And going forward, I think that's going to be more of an annual. So an annual type deal. So rather than talk mileage, we talk about time frame. And then talking time frame, now we can kind of predict what that traffic level is going to be, because we don't know what miles people put on vehicles. So that with that mileage interval, we couldn't really predict what our traffic flow would be. We'd go by historical data, but going forward, if we do it from a time frame, then we really control that, and it allows us an opportunity to target that customer rather than guesstimate their miles, send them all kinds of stuff to get them to come in. Now we know it's been 12 months since you purchased your vehicle. Let's bring it in for the annual inspection and make sure everything's going well for you. And while we're doing that, we're going to rotate your tires. We're going to put new wiper blades on. We're going to do the things that needs to happen for that vehicle to maintain it at what it's designed to run at.
With all the talk in the marketplace and on the business pages about EVs, and every day, Ed, you read about these tens of billions of dollars in investment that are being made by big companies. There's been a lot of talk on the OEM side about separating the EVs at the dealer level from the combustion engines, and I won't be shy on it. Ford Motor Company has been one of those companies talking about, maybe this is not going to be something we utilize with all of our dealer network the way we have in the past. What are your thoughts on that, Ed Roberts? And should dealers be overly concerned about that right now?
So I may not be popular on my answer on this, but I love that Ford is separating out the two, because I've always been the kind of guy that I want to learn what my people's strengths are and build their role around their strengths. And none of us can be good at everything. And we'd like to be, but we can't. We all have strengths and we have opportunities that we can work on. And I love that Ford has separated that out, because I don't want that guy that wants to make ICE the best thing out there as a second job building a battery vehicle. I want someone that wants to own ICE, building ICE vehicles, and someone that sees the future and sees that BEVs is what's coming and build the best vehicle he can build. So I love that separating them out. So I got this crew doing this one and this crew doing this one. And I think it will it will create a competitive atmosphere to which one becomes better, and each one will step each other's game up, because competition always drives improvement. And so it's internal competition within the company, and I look forward to the product that's going to come out, and it gives us an opportunity to market differently, because the customers are still there. We're going to have some customers that are still very in tune with ICE and want to stick with ICE because it's what they're comfortable with, and they don't want to have to worry about the range stuff. But we're also going to have the tech customers that are chasing what's the latest technology out there, and we can look at that from two different platforms and show what we're doing to make them the best out there, the best in the market.
I am hearing from some of the California dealers, including Ed, our good friend Tully Williams, that they are attracting a new breed of technician and people who want to be technicians, because now this is considered, Ed, the cool thing, the EVs. And a lot of us got taken by surprise when we started hearing that, but I'm hearing more and more of that happening now. So what are your thoughts on that?
The opportunity is huge for us. It has been tough to get people to come into this, because for so long we've kind of had that push that you got to go to a 4-year college. You got to go to a 4-year college. Yeah. Well, there is people that built that college. There's people that built that. And so you got to have the industry people out there that have a skilled trade. And for us in automotive, we've kind of been looked at as a skilled trade of being a grease monkey. And that's not cool. That's not cool to be a grease monkey. So it kind of get looked down upon. Well, shifting to BEVs, it makes us cool again. And look at what the .com age did in the late 90s, and then all the other stuff that come through in early 2000s. Computers. So now we got IT companies and we got cybersecurity and all those things that didn't exist not long ago. Well, those are the things that we got to look at for automotive as well now. And so, yes, it puts us into a techie type situation for techs rather than a mechanical situation for technicians. And it's going to be a different breed, and it makes it cool to be an automotive technician again. Looking forward to it.
Ed, to wrap up here today for our audience, you are 10 years at Bozard Ford Lincoln and coming up now on a year as the COO of that company. Any advice, and what advice do you have for our managers and our dealers and our viewers looking forward into 2022? What should we be aware of? What else should we be preparing for? Your thoughts on that.
Well, it is odd or not common for someone to make it from the fixed op side of the business to where I'm at today here, but it can be done, and I'm living proof of it. And there is others as well, and the opportunity is in front of us to always develop ourselves, but never lose sight of we don't get the job done. As you see in my office, I don't have customers in here. I don't have salespeople in here. We have people to get things done, so we get things done through people. And so we have to develop ourselves, and we got to continue to help our people develop. And as we do those things, and then we get the credit for it, but ultimately things get easier because things happen naturally. And a lot of times we're looked at as having all the answers. We don't have the answers. We're not frontline. The frontline people have the answers. They have the most information. We got to make sure that we're empowering them and asking them the questions, or what do you think you should do, or what caused this, or because a lot of times we'll throw out a decision that, hey, we need to change this to this, and not know what the effect of it is because we're not as in tune. So don't lose sight of who put you where you're at. It's our people that gets us there, and we have to develop them and include them in decisions that's made, and they will take ownership in something that they're involved with. And then it is endless on where you could go.
Ed Roberts, nobody better to start us off at the Fixed Ops Roundtable than you. And as you said, not many people have made that move as you have, from fixed operations now to running that organization. So congratulations to you again, and on all your success and all your future success, Ed, as well.
Thank you, Ted. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the summer in front of us. Graduation is here for my daughter, and I think your daughter's graduating here as well in a couple of days. And it's all good stuff in front of us.
Yeah, we're proud dads. So I love that. So Ed Roberts, the COO of Bozard Ford Lincoln, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted.
Everybody wants to be part of a bigger story. And to see something like this in such a big industry is a big accomplishment.
When I heard about Rapid Recon, I was like, man, that's ahead of its time. And now I feel like it's absolutely revolutionary. We are changing the automotive industry one dealership at a time.
Just about anybody can tell you that you are struggling or that you might have a bottleneck somewhere. But what do you do about that?
Rapid Recon is the one software that unifies all the departments. You're going to go from chaos to organization.
Reconditioning is all about making a vehicle ready for sale. The whole idea of Rapid Recon is to take 15 days average to get these cars ready to sell and take it down to 3 to 5.
You can see the bottlenecks that we can eliminate. As a dealer, to be able to log into a website or your app on the phone and know precisely where each car is from all your dealerships, that's invaluable.
We can give the decision makers information that they need to make the decision immediately.
It's live. You can log into Rapid Recon and see exactly where you are. What it means is making decisions based on true information. It makes all the difference in the world.
What gets measured gets better over time, and Rapid Recon does that for us. There's nothing like that in the market.
I oversee 19 of our stores. We're processing 2,500 cars a month. You need technology to make it more effective and overall more profitable.
Rapid Recon is more than software. What's unique about Rapid Recon is the people that come with it.
One of the reasons why we're so good at this is because a lot of us did come out of the car industry.
The software is amazing and it's a tool, but we're not software people. We're car people.
And we know the pains that dealers are going through, not because we've been taught it, but because we've lived it.
We get so much praise for our customer service and how well we take care of our customers, and it's because we genuinely care.
They're not going through an automated system. When they call, it's a live person right there. Rapid Recon is just not the name of the company. Rapid means we gotta be fast and accurate.
If you want to be as efficient as you possibly can, if you want to be as profitable as you can, you absolutely should have Rapid Recon as your system.
We're a small company, but we're going to change the whole industry.
I'm really excited about how the company's growing. I see us in more dealerships worldwide.
In 5 years, you're going to see that Rapid Recon is a must for every dealership.
We're making a big difference. We're changing this industry in a way that it's needed to change for a long time.
Something inside me has always been there, but after the last segment, now it's awake. How about you? Has the force been awakened inside of you? Up next is Holden Scott of Regal Nissan.
Holden Scott is the fixed operations director at Regal Nissan and is one of the up-and-coming new players that we are starting to see a whole lot of on social media. He's been in the industry for quite a while. He leads a very impressive organization there at Regal Nissan. And what really struck me at one of the last events was Holden spoke on a panel, and really his thought process and where he's come from and what he's doing today, I think is very impressive. So Holden Scott, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks for having me. Excited about it.
Hey, we're excited about you. I just saw that you ran an ultra marathon, and I had to look that up because I didn't know what an ultra marathon is, Holden. You're in Georgia, but you went a long way to run that marathon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so last year I kind of decided I was going to get into more running, and I'm one of those people, I like to make big lofty goals and have something to work towards. So I signed up. I'd always wanted to go out to Utah, to Zion National Park, and I ended up finding that they had a 100-kilometer race, which comes out to about 62 miles. So I just went for it. I signed up for it, told my wife, hey, I'm going to do this next April, and just spent a whole year kind of training, studying, figuring out how to do it, a lot of experimenting, and then kind of had one of those things where, something you've been working towards, you get to go out and accomplish, and everything went as good as it could, and got to finish the race, and kind of probably bit off a little bit more than I could chew because I didn't start off with anything smaller, but it was an awesome time. And, one of those things where it's great to see all that work come to fruition and, execute on it.
I like what you say there with big lofty goals. That really hits home with me as well. Tell us a little bit about you, Holden. What got you into the car industry, how you started, when that happened. Give us a little bit of the backstory there.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry about 10 years now. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2011. Came to work here at Regal. Started off as kind of a dispatcher and helping book warranty and just kind of little odd and end jobs like that. I did that for a few months and then ended up becoming a service advisor. I was a service advisor for about 2 years. During that time was not the best time in my career. I just had a lot of issues with being a service advisor just because you come from a structured environment like the Marine Corps and then just getting kind of thrown into the service advisor world. I pretty much had 1 day of training on how to write cars, and then the rest of it was figure it out kind of. So I did almost probably get out of the, not probably, I was considering seriously going back into the military, getting out of the automotive field entirely, because it's not just because I was bad at it. I was bad at it and didn't know how to get good at it. Luckily, I ended up being able to move to the parts department, worked my way up in the parts department, ended up becoming the assistant parts manager. Then I kind of was like, hey, I want to learn more about the business. So I actually started selling cars. So selling new and used cars, ended up becoming like an assistant used car manager, and then was sent to the NADA Academy. So then I was doing like wearing a lot of different hats, helping out in different departments, things like that, kind of just odd in type things. And then one day coming into work, our service manager, who had been here for like 20 years, just came in unannounced and said he was going to start his own shop. Didn't even want to tell anybody bye. So they asked me to start running service for a little bit until they could find a replacement. And after about 2 weeks, because at first I was like, man, I know a little bit about service, but you get that feeling again of I sucked at as being a service advisor. How could I run a service department? But after about 2 weeks, I kind of started getting a little bit of confidence of, hey, I have been in this automotive field for 8 years, graduated in NADA Academy. I know what numbers should be. So then I kind of just walked in and told them, hey, I want the job. And I think that's what they were kind of waiting for, was for me to say, hey, I want this job actually. So they ended up giving me the job, and going on October 2019 is when I took over. So this year will be my 3rd year of running the fixed ops department over here.
Wow. And Holden, thank you for your service. Let me go back a little bit. What prompted you in the first place to want to get into the car business? Why did you pick automotive?
Well, I mean, my family's always been automotive, so it's just one of those things where it works. And I was really wanting to maybe re-up in the Marine Corps, and it just didn't work out. I'd been deployed for 3 years pretty much straight. So I'd only seen my wife for 3 months of the first 3 years, so she wasn't too keen on me re-upping. So, my family's always been in automotive, so Regal Nissan just a good fit.
I think probably if you ask any good retail automotive person, that at one point in their career, they wanted to quit. Right. And they wanted to, because I give you a lot of credit because you knew there was potentially something better and more information that you didn't have. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I've heard you do some really unique things there at Regal Nissan in terms of going back to the culture of the dealership and your people. Talk to us a little bit about that. What are some of those things? I've heard that you've got games, you've got incentives, you've got a lot of things for your people that are kind of out of the box, historically, as the car business goes.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I picked a lot of it up maybe from the sales side, selling cars. We did have some creative sales managers who, played games. It wasn't all the time, but you're always doing spiffs and competitions like that on the sales side. So when I started running service, I'd always been told, you shouldn't spiff someone or, pay someone extra to do their job. But I'm like, hey, if we're doing it on sales and it makes things fun. So I started doing it on the service side. I have spent probably too much money and spent maybe too much time creating crazy games. But I mean, if you're just looking for something simple, it's as easy as buying a Jenga tower and writing just points on the Jenga tower and having, hey, if we sell, any of these items, you come and you pull a Jenga piece and you keep building the tower. It starts getting pretty crazy at the end of the day as people are trying to get points. Plinko is another one that's been, really, really fun. I did that with our technicians. You'd be surprised. I bought a Plinko board that made the sounds and everything, the lights, and you'd have guys come in to do their drops, and they'd ask, are you not going to turn it on? I want to hear the music. 40-year-old guys who are like, you're not going to turn the music on? I want the music. I want to hear the sound effects. So that's fun. We've played Battleship. We've played games with Nerf guns. You name it. I've probably come up with a way or thought about doing it. So yeah, it's just something. To me, it makes work fun. It's a way to make a little bit of extra money for the guys. But then realistically, the biggest thing about it is it's getting people kind of that gratification. It's not just the fact that I get to come have a little bit of fun playing Jenga Tower. It's a little pause in the day where maybe I get to, but I as a manager get to interact with those guys, and then them I think even if there wasn't a reward, a monetary reward, or sometimes we do different prizes, they still would be excited about playing it because they're getting just those little data boys during the day. They're getting it to brag a little bit. Hey, I just sold another set of brakes. Hey, I just sold another set of brakes. And it starts building that momentum, building that excitement, building that confidence to people. And I think that's really big. To me, that's one thing that's super important is, people getting the recognition they deserve and then just feeling good about themselves. One thing I always like to think of is I always try to picture my people driving home on the drive home from work. And not that I do things because I want them to feel a certain way, but I never want my people driving home and just being mad about their day. Whenever I make decisions or things like that, I always think of my people driving home. I want them in a good mood going home to their families. I don't want to be the cause of, family stress or anything else. I want them walking in the door. They had a good day at work. Maybe I'm not as happy about seeing my kids or things like that because I had a bad day at work. Ultimately, some of those things are on those people individually. I'm not saying I'm always fully responsible for everything, but if I can help make someone's day, help make someone's family life better, that's a win to me.
And you told me a while back, Holden, that some of that comes from when you were working maybe without as much direction, without, a lot of the incentives, a lot of the focus on those things. And you had to take that drive home and, you had a lot of those thoughts in your mind, about getting out of the business and going and doing something else. Talk to us a little bit about that. Why, and by the way, you don't have a small store. How many technicians and how many advisors do you have?
So I have 8 advisors. I have 27 technicians that work for me. So yeah, it is I'm not the biggest store, but here in Metro Atlanta, we're a pretty big Nissan store. We write a lot of ROs, and yeah, it does come back. A lot of it is stuff I reflect back on myself, being that guy just out of the Marine Corps. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the most successful guy in the military, but I had a good, successful career in the Marine Corps. I really liked it. I was very successful, promoted and things like that. And then you go from that to, being a service advisor where I thought, hey, I could do this. This is, it's not that hard. And just falling flat on my face with it. Obviously, some of that comes back on me. I obviously could have done better, but I went from an environment where I was always led and kind of given a path and a career, like, hey, if you want to be better, I knew exactly what I needed to do in the Marine Corps to be better. I knew what I needed to shoot. I knew what I needed to run. I knew how many pull-ups I needed to do. I knew all those things. I could tell you exactly what I needed to do to move to the next level. And then you come into an environment where I had no idea. I need to sell more. Well, how do I do that? Like, what should I focus on? What's the low-hanging fruit, the things I should get better at first? And I turned to drinking. I was drinking heavily. I was not a happy person, and I was pretty much miserable every day driving home. And I remember telling my wife, like, I just suck and I don't know how to get better. And I feel like I'm failing. And so I'm going to go back to the thing I was good at. So I do reflect back on that because I never want people to be there, because it wasn't just professional. It was creeping into my personal life and everywhere. That's what's so important to me is, making people better people professionally and personally.
Do you have any mentors, people you've looked up to in your life, and that you could point to some of them as well?
I mean, definitely. I mean, my dad. He was in the Marine Corps. He had a lot of this. We kind of followed the same career path of not being successful in college, joining the Marine Corps because we thought we knew more than our parents. So he's definitely one of them. And if I'm honest, this isn't to like try to toot my own horn or anything like that. As far as that, I don't really have a lot of other mentors. I'm trying to find like-minded people, but for me, a lot of it just comes from reading. I'm a very avid reader.
Yeah.
So to me, I just have conversations with people that are long since passed and trying to pull different things. I'm probably, I get it commented all the time from vendors. I'm probably the only service manager that has philosophy books on his desk. I have Plato, Marcus Aurelius, guys like that on my desk as a constant reminder to myself, and because I do pick them up and read them. So not only is it living people that I might be interacting with, but it's also reading. I think it's one of the biggest things. I have copies of, all those books that I keep in my desk at all times. I have service advisors that are reading Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I've given out, I can't tell you how many copies of that book, of Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership, books like that. So I try to encourage my people to read as well. So that's probably the next biggest impact on me. And it has nothing to do with the business. It's just being a better person and trying to pass those lessons on.
Well, I think it has a lot to do, of course, with life. And I think that if we put good information inside our heads, right? If we feed our heads with the positive stuff, and like you just said, you've got service advisors and employees who want to read that information and they want to learn more, you are in turn passing it along as well to others. A lot of folks watching this, Holden, are, general managers, fixed ops directors, service parts managers, dealers, technicians. What advice would you have for them, in their careers, in terms of, improving themselves and getting better and, achieving more, going up that next notch, going for the next thing? What advice would you have for our audience?
I think probably the biggest thing I'd say is you got to control what you can control. And that's a lot to do with your mindset. To me, I think a lot of times we get bogged down with things we can't control, things that are outside of our control. So every day when I'm at work, I look at what's the things I can control. And a lot of that just comes down to my mindset and my attitude and how I treat other people. A lot of things can go wrong, but I can always choose to have a good attitude about it. And I can always choose how I treat people. If you ask my people, some of my favorite quotes, they give you some, but one I know that they'd give you that I say all the time is be tolerant of others and strict with yourself. And that just comes from Marcus Aurelius, not me. But I always tell people that, hey, when someone makes a mistake, realize, hey, people are human, they're going to make mistakes. But what if all of us were working to be just strict with ourselves and continue to improve and realize what we can improve, then intolerant of others, those people are going to fix themselves. If you can get an entire organization being strict on themselves, then all of a sudden you don't have to be as tolerant of other people's mistakes and stuff, because if everyone's strict with themselves, those mistakes start to diminish. So to me, it's all about, that's what it's all about, is, controlling what I can control. And, it doesn't cost anything to be a good person and work together and, just strive as a complete organization to everyone get better, both professionally and personally.
Last question for today, Holden. What's ahead for you? What do you see for yourself in the future, down the road? What's the next step for you? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to go next?
The next step for me is probably I want to become executive manager eventually here. So right now, what does that mean for me? As crazy as it sounds, and I know some people are against this, they want to control everything that they can. For me right now, the next step is training my replacement. I'm actively looking for guys that want to learn, guys and girls that want to learn and want to eventually take over for me. I'm trying to pass on as much knowledge and information as I can to as many people as I can. Because at the end of the day, there's only going to be one person for that seat. But if I can, help other people down that career path, they're going to be better employees for Regal Nissan. And then hopefully they eventually become better people themselves. So for me right now, it's training my replacement, and then down the road, eventually become an executive manager.
Holden, we appreciate your time today and hearing from you. You are one of the up and coming leaders in our industry, and I'm going to invite you back on the roundtable. You've been a great addition on a couple different panels we've had this event and last, and congratulations, Holden, on all the success that you are having in changing the mindset and starting with your own there at Regal Nissan.
No, I appreciate it, Ted. Appreciate everything y'all do, because it gives me a way to connect and get ideas from people I probably would never, ever connect with otherwise. So I'm one of those people, if I see a good idea, I'm going to steal it and use it.
Yep. Holden Scott, everybody. His contact information is at the bottom here in the ticker. If you want to reach out to him, he's the Fixed Operations Director at Regal Nissan in Georgia. Holden, thank you again. Holden Scott here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
The force is strong with our next guest. Become powerful you have as a duo, and we cannot wait to hear about your Jedi mastery, Randy and Kim Brenckman.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we are humbled and honored to welcome back our resident experts, Ask the Experts, Randy and Kim Brenckman from Randy Brenckman Solutions. Kim and Randy, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, thanks, Ted.
Hey, Ted. Well, thanks for welcoming us. We appreciate it.
You folks have been really busy. You're tearing it up out there. I see you everywhere. You are training at some of the biggest dealerships in the nation. I saw just recently, not long ago, Randy, you were both out at Longo Toyota in El Monte, California.
Yeah, you talk about being humbled at the beginning. We are. We spent 2 weeks there, and we worked with their leaders for their 4 dealerships within the Penske Motor Group, and we had it's kind of fun. It's fun to find the little things that make the big differences.
Yeah, they're just a wonderful group of people, very positive, very progressive in terms of their training. They're very big on training their people. They just have a great culture there, and it's very uplifting and fun to work with. And we just really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the people there. So.
And it speaks a lot to your capabilities, the fact that the biggest dealership in the world brings you in to get better. So that says a whole lot. So congratulations on all the success that you're having. And, since we got together in March, there have been some questions from our audience that have come up. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and ask the experts today on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable viewers some of these questions that have really resonated to the top. And the first one, Kim, I'll come to you. The first question is, what should I be concerned with, or what should I be measuring in my service department? And, that's actually probably a very common question.
It is. And Ted, that can always be a moving target. So we like to look at the basics. I mean, what do we really want to focus on? And the things that I really focus or have our team focus on is selling our total hours sold, number 1. Number 2 is our unapplied time. And number 3 is discounts. And, when you look at total hours sold, that's your inventory. Your technician's time is your inventory to sell. Did I sell all that time? The next one is unapplied time. Randy, you want to try?
Well, yeah, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, total hours and unapplied time, they're kind of together. If I concentrate on my unapplied time and make it go away, I sell more hours. And if I sell more hours, I cover my unapplied time. So both come hand in hand. Discounts. Why are we discounting? We do so much in menu pricing and things of this nature. Nothing wrong with discounting, but if you are interested in your effective labor rate, whether your pricing is working or not, you have to make the decision of, is the discount done by the advisor? Is it done by management? Do we have a coupon that's actually working, that's bringing us business to get the hours? So concentrate on your inventory. 90% of your problems in a dealership are found in an inventory. 90% of your solutions are found in an inventory 100% of the time. But, interesting to that question as I think about it, what should I be measuring?
Yep.
Maybe you might want to turn that at your own dealership and to your advisors, ask them, what are your important metrics? What are you striving for every day? You may be surprised. What if they aren't on the same page with you? So think about what you're doing. Did they come in with their unproven practices or whatever it would be, and they are the one leading the charge, or are they following your direction and buying into what you want to? So in short, hours first, unapplied time, and the short answer would be check your discounts.
And as a follow-up to that question, how often should I be looking at that and measuring that? I imagine just doing it once a month is not going to cut it.
No, you've got to be constantly looking at that. You've got to know every day. I need to know. every day, that unapplied time, especially in California. I mean, if you're not watching your unapplied time, I mean, you're paying ridiculous amounts of money out, which it's all about managing your inventory.
You've heard us say this before. A new vehicle not sold today can be sold tomorrow. A used vehicle not sold today can be sold tomorrow. A part not sold today can be sold tomorrow. Technician's time not sold today is gone forever. You can't wait for the end of the month. It's too late. Every day is the last day of the month. And the larger your dealership and the more technicians you have, it's even more crucial to look at it every day, just because of the velocity model that goes attached with that.
It's that perishable commodity, and it's probably the most profitable thing that inventory-wise that a dealership carries.
Pre-supply problem, yes. I mean, I've got three. Before we had the supply issues and the windfalls that we have in the vehicle sales departments right now, I have 3 piles of money. One has $78, the other one has $35, and the other has $1 or you owe me. I just described service, parts, and vehicle sales before the supply chain. You hold 70 some dollars of every $100 you sell in service. Parts, if you're not big in wholesale, you're going to hold about $35 for every. And then where were we in selling vehicles back in holdback, if we can remember back? So in the vehicle sales department right now is the good old days. So I don't know that we'll ever see this again.
But when this changes, it's going to change hard and fast. I mean, when we get back to everything being as it was in years ago, in terms of supply chain and it's in terms of us getting new vehicles coming in, when that changes, all of a sudden you're going to see incentives from the manufacturers, and it'll go back to not making money in new, not making money in new, but fixed ops is the backbone of our organization. So we have really got to be honed and have our people trained, because this situation is going to go on for a while.
Yeah. So you've got to get those hours, because let's face it, warranty is dropping off and will continue. So you have to go after your inventory.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question that came in. Randy, I'll come to you on this one. If I record a lost sale and acquire the part, won't that count as 2 in my computer? What should we do?
You go with this.
Ted, have we ever come to a conclusion on lost sales? Have we ever in our industry? We've been talking about this for decades. But to answer the question is yes, you're going to have 2.
Yeah.
But you got to look at your system that you have, your DMS system. Are you on Techion? Are you on CDK, or are you on Reynolds? Each system, does that a little differently. And Randy can kind of,
the quick answer is yes. What you're looking for in parts is one thing. You're looking for demand. You just don't say, I don't have any Corvette hoods. What do we say we order 12? I mean, the only reason you have a part is people have been asking for it. That's your phase in. So it just kind of depends on how you want to look at the term lost sales, because different computer systems look at it just a little bit different. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. Is it a lost sale in the eye of the dealership, or a lost sale in the eye of the computer? It's a lost sale in the eye of the computer. Basically, what you're trying to get to is first-time fill rate. I want to be able to hand that part to a customer or a technician now.
And we say, if you can't hand it, hit it. Hit the lost sale key.
So what if we change the term lost sale?
Okay.
To not in stock key? Would that make a lot more sense? It's the not in stock key. I want to record a demand. Now, certain systems that will accelerate things, for example, Reynolds, but CDK and all do not work that way. You have to go in and do a test to believe it yourself. But at the end of the day, I think there is more damage done by not recording a lost sale or missed opportunity than there is recording the lost sale and the part coming in, especially today, when so many automatic replenishment systems reward us by allowing us to return anything that's ordered on a stock order.
It's protected.
What's the danger here? What is the danger here?
But the misconception is our people that are working our parts counter are afraid to hit the lost sale key because their perception is I hit that lost sale key and I'm going to have all this inventory coming at me. And I don't want to be stuck with things that are going to be obsolescence or I have a non-stock status part. So they're afraid to hit that key. And really, if we don't ever hit the key, we're never going to get the demand,
You need the demand
to tell us to bring the part in.
Now, if you are a believer that if it's a not in stock key and you think this is really important to you, which probably 50% of our audience believes that and 50% doesn't, so whatever. But if you are a believer that you should hit the lost sale key, it's very easy to find out if you are getting compliance. All you need to do is every part that's a vehicle that's a carryover for parts. In other words, we had to keep the guest car because I didn't have the parts. So I put an order in for it on the stock order, however I did it. The next day, pull up the part number. If no lost sale was recorded, you know what employee is not in compliance, and we can have a training moment and a discussion to be able to explain this so that we're all on the same page.
Because at the end of the day, Ted, if we don't have the parts, we can't turn the hour in the shop. We have technicians that are idle. We want to keep those technicians turning wrenches in their stalls. The name of the game is just keep those techs.
And in California, there's your unapplied time.
That's unapplied time. It's all intermingled with each other.
Okay. All right. Here's a good question. Any outside of the box ideas for acquiring techs? And I don't think we've ever had a chance to ask you a question like that before.
Well, sure. Depends on how far out of the box you want to go. And I think right now you need to do almost anything you can. It's hard to get employees. Just go to your local restaurant. It's hard to get people to work, much less skilled people as technicians. So are we trying to fill a need of ours, or should we try to fill a need of theirs? Now, I have a stall in my mechanical shop that I would like to put a technician in. So I'm looking for a technician. Well, the tool truck just left, and there's not a bunch of them hanging in the back that I can put off the shelf and put in there. So I've got to do something. So we've got a lot of dealers right now considering a 3-day work week. Hire a technician to work 3 days. I can hire 2 technicians for that one stall. One works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The other one works Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, who in the world can I get for that? Ted, you and I have a little bit of gray. So let's just pretend that we are technicians right now. We've been doing this since high school. So we're getting a little older, a little tireder, a little harder to get up in the morning. And ibuprofen is now our recreational drug of choice. So I don't want to quit. I'm not ready to retire, but maybe I want to back off a little bit here. I'll work 3 days. I'll find a lot of attraction in that. Now, if I partner up with somebody else, quite frankly, as the general manager or the service manager, I don't care who comes in. As long as if you want to work 4 and the other guy wants to work 2, or you want to work the weeks and the other can take vacation, I don't really care. But start thinking about 3/10s perhaps. Now, Kim, what's another person that can find value in this?
Techs with young families. People are having a difficult time finding childcare. So, or financially, it's just, it just doesn't work for them, So we look at it as I can find a technician, a young technician that has a young family, they can work 3 days and their spouse can work the other 3 days. So it just anything to do to attract people that it's not our typical environment anymore. But today, finding people is tough. Finding, like Randy said, finding technicians, it's really hard. So we have to really think outside the box to attract.
In your ad for a technician, if you've offered 3 days and you had a young individual with a young family with childcare concerns, both financially and time, just finding them, I can see somebody wanting to work 3/12s.
Yeah,
I can see them work 3/12s. How about somebody that lives
really far from somebody that lives far from the dealership? We have a son-in-law who's in the business, and he would love to work 312s because
he'd work 314s, but that's beside the point.
He drives an hour and a half each way to the dealer. So if you can find someone that would be attractive to, that may work for you as well. You just have to let the technician know you're not going to make. You may not make as much money as you did working a 5-day week, but we can.
There's an offset to that. So don't always be looking to fill your needs. Look to see what will work for you. But there's a group of people out there that might find value in that.
Okay. All right. Next question. Let's move along. And by the way, that is out of the box thinking. I like it. Any ideas to increase? And here's what some people don't like this word, upsells, but we all know what it means. Any ideas to increase additional sales?
So increase your same-day selling. Yeah. The first thing I would say is don't confuse your staff. If you have a pay plan that has an accelerator for effective labor rate hitting an average.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You might be negating the very thing that you want. Because when I get the multi-point inspection, it's not for big tickets, it's for maintenance items. Maintenance items are not going to give you a high effective labor rate. So you're asking me for same-day selling. I can't sell tires because I'm going to lose money in my pay. So you've got to make sure that you're not confusing your staff by giving them a mixed message. What you're asking them to do is against their pay plan. Now, to help with same-day selling right now, Kim and I have instituted a little word track that we use. And Kim,
we ask the guest, is this going to be a short-term vehicle ownership for you or a long-term vehicle ownership? And in today's environment, most people are saying this is going to be a long-term.
And we do that at Write-Up.
At Write-Up. And so we go, great, we want to help you. We do complimentary, comprehensive complimentary inspection. And then we do that so you will know where you stand with your vehicle, and we can take it from there.
And the logic behind this is we ask them, is this going to be a long-term or a short-term ownership vehicle for you? When they tell you long-term, they are now thinking, I have to take care of this, because we all know the cheapest repair is maintenance.
Yeah.
We all know that. So now they're opened up a little bit to say, you know what, that makes sense. I'm going to keep this a long time. Tell me what I need, because we want to ensure that this car performs and gives you the longevity that you're looking for.
So, Randy, go back. Give us the phrase again that Kim just gave us.
When we're doing the walk around and so forth, and we're finding it, first we have to get their initial concern.
It's early, so we're early in the process.
Absolutely. We get their initial concern and so forth, and we say, Ted, a quick question for you. This particular vehicle, is this going to be a short-term ownership vehicle for you or a longer-term ownership vehicle for you? The majority of the people with the prices of vehicles and the lack of available choices will tell you, I think this is going to be a long-term vehicle. I mean, how many people are buying their leases out? They're turning them into long-term vehicles.
That's a great thing to ask Kim, we should be asking every customer that at Write-Up.
We believe that because it makes them stop for a minute, think, and they can actually see, if I'm going to keep this for a longer time, I got to take care of this.
And again, we want to tie that guest to our dealership. We want to tie that guest to our service department. Yeah. So we've got to do everything we possibly can to tie these people to our own base.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, last question for today. My warranty total gross is going down. Anything I can do about that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's something we should have been looking at as a group collectively yesterday. Yeah. I mean, warranty is going down because we don't have new cars coming in. And that's going to be a problem for us. So we've got to get really good at selling these extended warranties through the OEM, like Toyota Care Plus. We've got to make sure that we're offering that to every customer every time, and just ensuring that we can get that customer coming in and stay loyal to our dealership. But other than that, we we really have to get good at selling customer pay.
You know, a warranty's going down. Kim's right. It's going to continue to go down. We sold 1,000 less cars this year at your dealership. At your dealership. That's 1,000 less people coming in over the next 3 years. One of the things that we did, Ted, over a year ago is we tried to convince our dealers to purchase as many 1-year-old vehicles of your brand that you can find. Don't worry about your front end gross and selling them. Just acquire these vehicles. Then go ahead and turn around and sell them as fast as you can. Go ahead and get the F&I, get a trade, but see if you can make sure that you put it in your area of responsibility to give you 2 more years worth of warranty. Here's another thing that I'm not sure that we do. We have a lot of people right now that are purchasing their leases out. Their lease comes to the end. They just say, I'm going to buy it because of market conditions and so forth. So one of the questions that the sales department needs to do is to look at this customer and ask them the same question. You're buying the lease. Well done. Is this going to be a long-term vehicle for you? If so, let us help you. Let us do a complimentary, comprehensive, multi-point inspection on this vehicle for you so you will know. Now think about it. This would be a great time if your vehicle needs tires, if it needs brakes, if it needs service. Is there any accessory that you wish you would have had on this vehicle now that you're going to keep it?
Yep.
Let us do it now. Add that to the balance of the loan. You're only going to pay a couple dollars a month. The other thing is, may we certify this vehicle for you with many manufacturers? And you asked this question again, and I left something out. Is this going to be a long-term vehicle or a short-term vehicle for you? They say long-term. You are going to finance this and hang on to your cash. Is that correct?
That's another great question. Yeah.
You are going to hang on to your cash and finance this. Very polite way of saying you probably don't have the money to buy it outright type of deal. But are you going to hang on to your cash?
Or it could be considered also, Randy, a very respectful question, because are you one of the smart money people who's going to hang on to their cash?
Precisely. Let me help you. Since you are going to finance it, by certifying this vehicle, depending upon your manufacturer, you will qualify for a lower interest rate. So now I'm bringing the shop together, and now I've got a car that's certified for warranty. I've got to take every opportunity that I can.
Yeah. Whatever we can do to tie these customers to our dealership is what we have to do, because we're going to have fewer cars in our service drive going forward.
What I love about you guys is you do think out of the box, and you got some great common sense answers. You gave us some great new word tracks today, okay, that are relevant right now on my service drive with my customers. Randy and Kim, I know you're busy and you're out there training dealerships like Longo, but if I have some questions as a GM or fixed ops or service or even a parts manager, how do I reach out to you? How do I find out more about what you do as well?
Well, we're owners that answer our own phone.
We answer the phone, and
we answer our phone. It's right on the screen. Emails, text messages. Just do me one favor, please. If you call me on your cell phone. If you call me on the dealership number, I have a hard time reaching you because I got to get to the gatekeeper. I want to get to you as fast as I possibly can.
All right. So Randy and Kim Brenckman, a great resource in our industry. Thank you for all that you do. Amazing information you provide the Fixed Ops community all the time. And on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Kim and Randy want to thank you for all you do.
Well, thanks for your continued confidence in us. We really appreciate it.
We enjoy it.
Everyone, the best in the business right here today. Randy and Kim Brenckman at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? You know, their service, parts, and body shop. For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers. who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com. 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
Experience, there is no such thing as luck. But when you have DealerBuilt on your side, it can certainly seem that way. Up next is John Rife of DealerBuilt to enlighten us.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is a great honor and privilege to introduce our Fixed Ops community to John Rife of Fixed Operations with DealerBuilt. John, I should say welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I think the last one of these I sat in on that was live was in Vegas a couple years ago and really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. So when the opportunity presented itself, it didn't take much prodding to get me on board.
John, can you imagine? I remember back 2 years ago when you came to the Las Vegas event. It was in conjunction with NADA, that NADA weekend. And I thought that was great that we had a couple hundred people who turned out to talk about fixed operations. And I could never have imagined in the last 2 years how the whole world has changed and how the focus has flipped to service and parts and body shop and all the interest that there is in those areas right now.
I think that, Ted, there's always been an interest. It's, kind of how we treated the fixed ops department. Traditionally, it was in the back and back of the dealership, tucked away, and really nobody wanted to go into the dank, dark corners. And now it's at the forefront of the operation. The opportunities that are there have, presented themselves with supply chain issues for the dealers' vehicles. We look to what we know best and what we've always done. The concept of absorption always existed in fixed ops. And I think now it's just a heightened awareness, a push to really invest in the back. I've had conversations with dealers over the last couple years, kind of into the realm that I've got into, and they tell me, well, when we start talking about investing in the back, they'll share, well, I really don't have an investment line on my financial statement, and I have to correct them a little bit. And I go, you absolutely do. It's the bottom line. So it's trying to get all that you can out of the tools that you have. Basically, we're trying to teach you, in essence, to clean off a few of the tools you haven't used in your toolbox, have a heightened awareness, and try and renew that excitement that is and exists and always has existed in the fixed op department, as well as the opportunities.
Very well said, John. DealerBuilt is a great name in our industry. And you and I were chatting just before we got started about the DMS and all of those multiple opportunities that dealers and managers don't always take advantage of. What are some of the things that you see, in the real world at the dealership level, where dealers can make a better use of that?
Well, a lot of times you'll go in and you'll start talking to a fixed ops director or a parts and service director or parts manager or service manager, and you start talking about setups and, a lot of the part setups and the service setups, and you find out, they have an answer. It's not always the best answer or the one that you were looking for. It's, well, that's the way it was when I got here. So I try to renew everybody's focus in understand the tools that you have and what actions and reactions that need to occur really on a monthly basis now. The industry has changed a lot, and it's going to continue to change. If you'd have told me 5 or 6 or 7 years ago that we would be doing a lot more service and part sales the way we're doing them because of the challenges that we've had in the last couple of years, I hate referring to it as the new norm, but it's what we have, and it's what we have to evolve around. And, that's kind of been my go-to word for so many years, or phrase, is it's about evolution, not revolution. Yeah, it's, the dealership operations are full of cliches. And to be quite honest, when we refer to those, we probably do our best when we go and recall, what we really need to inspect and how we want to move the operation forward. All too often, you'll go into an operation and they're operating the same way they were not just 5 or 10 years ago, but 20 or 30 years ago. So that renewed focus, that renewed awareness, the renewed opportunities, adapting and evolving with the challenges of today's market and today's customer. Years ago, it wasn't uncommon. You placed a weekly stock order and the vehicle came in, you set it up, or the parts came in, the vehicle showed up and you repaired it. And that may have been a month-long process. I call it kind of like the Amazon ideology now is, we've all done it. We've looked for something, shopped for something online, and not just finding it at the price we want it, but then at a delivery time that exceeds our expectation. So I kind of take that same concept into the fixed ops department. You have to understand your customer. They have built that Amazon mentality. Their expectation, for the most part, is a couple-day delivery time. It's hard to meet that with today's supply, but we need to strive to do that more and more every day.
You're right. We are dealing with that because we are the consumer as well. And our expectation is when we order something that we're going to get it right away. And in fact, even a couple days might even seem like a long time, right? We want to get it. Our expectation is to get it now. Yet the realities are a whole lot different. And that's transcending in dealership, John, as you know, from parts, to the technician and service, to the customer, waiting on their vehicle or waiting for those parts, so what are some of the things that you're seeing right now, that dealers are experiencing, and what are some of the things that they can do to help with that process?
Well, as always, it's always a challenge making, that fixed ops department operate as one. All too often you'll go in and it's a conflict. There's a conflict between parts and service, and many of those are justified. Action and reaction is really what I see in a lot of stores. It turns into a finger pointing game, which nobody wins. The customer ultimately loses, and in the end, the dealership loses that opportunity at revenue or a lifelong customer. And we all know what a lifetime customer can be worth. The value put on that is sometimes unbelievable. So the key, I think, in moving forward with that is getting the fixed ops department to operate just as one department and not two individual entities that are really working against each other. That's a challenge. That's not necessarily been the history of how those departments were run. They were pitted against each other in a number of ways, and that was the nature of the beast. I had the opportunity of growing up in a store. I say growing up in a store, and after about a little over 27 years in the same operation, we took on the role of treating it as one department and prospered from it. And I try to take that on the road with me in every store I go in and share. And sometimes it works great. And other times there are reasons, there are some conflicts, and we try to overcome those and as best we can and move the operation forward, because in the end, the customer and the employees, they are the ultimate, they're the ultimate losers if they don't get on the bandwagon and move forward.
I am hearing some new things happening, though, John, and as I'm sure you are as well, in the last several months, years. We're talking now, dealerships are talking about culture. I never heard culture discussed before. We just had a gentleman on the show with a Mercedes-Benz store. He's the parts manager, and he put listen to this, John. He took a parts advisor and placed that person physically in the shop to work with the technicians, all right, to make sure that communication was there, between parts and service. And while there are certainly a lot of dealerships that have resisted that kind of things, as you know, right, historically, there's more talk about things like that than I've ever seen before. Another one is transparency, and I never heard that word come up in service or parts. And I know that the finance department, it came up a couple of years back, initially a lot of resistance, and now that's all changed. So I do see some of these new things that are brewing out there.
Yeah, you hit a couple keywords there in the fact of bringing somebody into the shop to work with the techs. Communication is the key. Whether you do something along those lines or not. And if you can't communicate, you can't solve those challenges. The other phrase you threw out there was culture. Well, yeah, that's kind of a new old word and a new old concept. Back in my days of Ford used XL 2000. That was around 1999.
Yes.
And their concept there was basically changing the culture of the store. And they revolved really around customer satisfaction through employee satisfaction. Well, if you have unhappy employees, you very likely are not going to have very happy customers. Whole nother concept of the operation, but it's valid. We went through it in the store I was in, and to this day they still practice that. You're a team, and if you're not operating it as a team, everybody loses.
In the last year, in 2021, John, many dealers, not all, but many had record years, right? I mean, profit-wise, better than 2020, better than in years before. And we see a lot of dealers now taking some time to kind of assess, what they do next. And this is a good time for a lot of them to kind of step back. What do you see, and what would you recommend to dealers moving forward into 2022? What do you think they should be looking at? What should they be addressing? Certainly that word that you just said, communication, is a big part of it.
And it's really twofold. It's not just communication within the store and the ownership. It's communication with the customer. What do they want? What do they need? When do they want it? And really, are those wants realistic? Well, really doesn't matter if they're realistic. Perception's reality in this business. Another one of those fine automotive cliches, but it's real. For 2022, what's the big change? Well, I don't know if it'll ever be normal, but if I was going to suggest one thing for ownerships to do, fixed ops managers, dealers, parts and service directors, look inside their operation, review absolutely every opportunity that they have, and kind of look outside the box. Invest in the opportunities that you have in the fixed ops department. And they will reap you rewards.
And I would imagine one of the first places we need to look is in that DMS, because there's a whole wealth of information in there that's, in most cases, I'm going to guess, untapped.
Yes, and typically, historically, what I've seen over the years, going in and training and such, as people get as there is changes in positions and people retiring. They tend to only transfer maybe 60% of their knowledge, and that gets degraded very quickly. So maybe revamping a training process, reviewing what opportunities you have in your fixed ops toolbox.
John, I know that you spend a lot of time with dealers, and I know very often you're on the road, you're on the move, working, you're hands-on, okay, because of your retail background. If our audience wants to reach out to you, learn more about what you do, about DealerBuilt, about the opportunities you've got, what do you suggest? How do they reach out to you, and how do they learn more?
You can reach out to me directly at my email address. I believe it's scrolling there at the bottom. My first last name at DealerBuilt.com. Or if you'd rather reach out and see what opportunities there are in DealerBuilt, reach out at DealerBuilt.com. People will get in touch with me if needed. Let them know you saw us here on Ted Ings, and we'll be happy to chat with them, even if they're not DealerBuilt users. Happy to share the information.
John, I gotta tell you, I'm very grateful to you, for being involved early with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. When you came out to that early event, I think it was our fourth one. Early on, I wasn't sure if people were even going to show up, for these Fixed Ops events. But now that's all, certainly we know the results of that. And like you said, the interest is very, very strong. So you've got a wealth of information, that people can tap into. So I highly recommend to the audience to reach out to John at DealerBuilt. And John, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, thank you so much for all that you do for our industry. And thank you for being with us today.
All right. Thanks, Ted. I enjoyed watching the other speakers, and it is a wealth of knowledge that sometimes goes untapped. So use what you can with the information and move forward. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're very honored. John from DealerBuilt here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
DealerBuilt is committed to providing your dealership with a reliable enterprise-class DMS platform. Our service price guide covers operations worldwide with a richer, more robust level of support. DealerBuilt provides all the accurate ancillary parts that go with the RO automatically. Just enter the job, and a full list of parts needed will populate, right down to the nuts and bolts, even the fluids. This saves your service professionals from having to rely solely on memory, recalling every part needed for every job. It keeps them from searching for part numbers. This keeps your inventory on track and also notifies you when you need to order those extra parts. Put it all together, and this is just one way DealerBuilt makes your day-to-day easier. DealerBuilt offers maintenance by distance and by time while providing OEM recommended services up to 120,000 miles. And that is what makes us the real DMS.
Dear children, the belonging you seek is not behind you, it's ahead. Let's see what's ahead for the Pinnacle Training Center with John Fairchild and his panel of Jedi Masters.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable community will be no stranger to John Fairchild, the high-performance Fixed Ops coach. And John has helped the launch of the Pinnacle Training Center, and we're about to see a panel on that. And first of all, John, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ted.
John, tell us a little bit about what's coming up, and tell us about what you're doing with Pinnacle for Fixed Ops.
Yeah, and conceptually, this came across a few years ago from a dear friend and mentor of mine, actually, Jonathan Dawson, who does training psychology for the variable side of operations. And he came to me and said, "Hey, would you be interested? I know you live in Georgia. Would you be interested in having a classroom setting availability for your clients?" And the idea developed over a number of years, where what has resulted from there is no less than world-class training center that will have all elements from stem to stern for your dealership to train on, whether it be parts, service, BDC, even down to receptionist, of course, sales management, leadership. So what has really been assembled is a top-notch world-class training center for your dealership needs. What I do there is parts and service fixed operations training. And for example, we did the inaugural workshop, 2-day workshop for service managers and service directors. Wow. I believe, since I've been in the car business 42 years and I've held every job in fixed operations, and now I've been on the training side for 20 years. I believe in interactivity. I believe in role play. I believe that if you're expecting your managers and leaders to actually require that their people perform in a certain way, that they should be able to perform that way. And so it's very interactive, and it's a dynamite program there at the Pinnacle Training Center, Ted.
So, John, I could send my managers to you for a 2-day workshop offsite in a professional environment where, if you will, you're putting them through a flight simulator away from the dealership, and you're providing that training. What about my service advisors, John?
Yeah, and similar to that. And then, they really go hand in glove, because if we're training your coaches to coach, then right. the recipient of that, the player in the field, is really going to be synchronized with your service management team, and everybody really singing off the same song sheet, so to speak.
Well, you've assembled a great team. I'm looking forward to the panel. And John Fairchild, everybody, leading fixed ops at the Pinnacle Training Center for service managers and service advisors. And John, I can't wait to see the panel.
Thanks, Ted.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And you could not miss on social media during the month of April the grand opening of the Pinnacle Training Center. And what better panel to put together today than the leaders of the Pinnacle Training Center, including John Fairchild, Reda, Jonathan Dawson, Anthony Santangelo, and we are joined by Sean Kingery. Gentlemen, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. John, you have been here many times before. I want to congratulate you and the Pinnacle Training Center on a successful launch. And, John, it wasn't that long ago, just a little over 2 years ago, when all training, as the people on this panel know, stopped and shut down, and all of our calendars went dark, and we didn't really know what to do. But now it has come back, John Fairchild, with a vengeance. And John, so happy that you're leading the charge in fixed ops.
Oh, I appreciate that, and what a poignant thing to say, because actually, what happened during that time when COVID broke out is I've been primarily an on-site trainer in car dealerships, and all of my clients that I'd had for over 12 years, a lot of them told me, do not come back to the dealership. They were worried I might be a super spreader or what have you. And so I spent 62 days in my basement during that time, and really had to grapple with a lot of stuff. And thankfully was able to convert some of my clients to a remote status. And during that time, actually met one of the panel members here previous to that, and got engaged in one of my first projects to come out of COVID on site. And I'll talk to him about that in a moment. But no, you're so right, Ted. Everything changed. And prior to that, these fixed ops roundtables, just directly prior to that, February 14th, matter of fact, of 2020, was a live fixed ops roundtable.
That's right. You and I were in Las Vegas together, and then the world changed. And we all went online, and so John, you've assembled some amazing talent, and I'd like you to go ahead and John Fairchild introduce us everybody to who's here today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do is introduce each person and let them kind of speak to their area of expertise and how it relates here. And so our first person is Reda, who is one of the world's, if not the world's, most accomplished salespeople. Ali, tell us something about who you are and everything like that.
Yeah, man. Oh, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a blessing to be here with an outstanding panel here. So thank you very much. And yeah, man, simply, I'm a car salesman. That's what I've been for the last 21 years, and been very fortunate in my career to have achieved some really nice goals that I had set forth. But 21 years in the car business, been working for Chevy and Cadillac for 10 years now. I'm at my second dealership. I originally started at a Chevy store that closed down in 2010, and I had to kind of start over. And I went to Les Stanford Chevrolet, where I'm at now, and just been at it. So I've been very fortunate to have broken a couple records over that time, which has been such a blessing. 2017 set the world record at 1,582 retail units.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. I hold the monthly record of 209, and
Wow.
the daily record of 32 twice, which is pretty cool. So very fortunate.
Yeah, fortunate is a word, but very skilled also. So thank you for that introduction.
You got it.
And the next guy on our panel I'm going to go to is Sean Kingery. He's the gentleman I was alluding to a moment ago. He's a retail for Step One Automotive. They're in Georgia, Florida, and soon to be Alabama. And Sean and I were introduced prior to COVID. And then when COVID broke out, I kind of got put on hold, and but back in dealerships then. So Sean, it's been great working with you, but tell us who you are and what your passion is.
Sure. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Yeah, back to the intro. John and I hadn't met. John and I met through a referral, actually, through somebody that we both knew through a Ted Ings connection, and it's small how it worked. And then out of nowhere, once I got on John's schedule, COVID kicked off, and I made a phone call thinking, hey, this guy doesn't know me, but I got to put you on hold. And again, John, I'm not saying because I'm on your panel, but a lot of people would have said, listen, we're out, because we had a complete schedule lined up for all. At the time, I think we were at 13 stores, and now we're at 20. But we had a complete lineup going on. But again, thank you for that, John. John's been with us now for a little over, we got to be going on probably 3 years, John, going 2.5 years. We also sent some people, which I know we'll get into in a little bit, to the Pinnacle, the launch, and we sent some service managers there. But, we're a group based out of Florida. We've got stores in Georgia. And as you said, we've got one in Alabama, a second one coming. And I'm a fixed ops guy through and through, and this is my gig. So this is what I love to do.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sean. Next on our panel that I'm going to go to is a good friend, dear friend of mine, Anthony Santangelo. And we were talking pregame about the impact that Anthony has really had on all of us in social media. And Anthony is somebody who puts it all out there. He's an all-in kind of guy. And I really appreciate Anthony. And I want to take just a moment to let Anthony kind of tell us his story and something that you're passionate about as well.
Thank you, John. It's always good to see you and everyone in the panel today. I feel very honored to be here with it. September will be 25 years I've been in the business. I spent over 19 years in the trench, as I like to say, serving automotive dealerships. Now in my 6th year as a national sales recruiter and trainer affiliate with Automax Recruiting and Training. Back-to-back National Sales Recruiter and Trainer of the Year awards from Automax, set their record for fixed ops max hire programs last year that I had with over 90 max hire transactions in 1 year with it. So I'm here to serve. I want to try to leave everybody I meet better than how I found them, whether if it's sales training and BDC training, which is obviously my expertise with my front end background, or taking care of technicians, advisors, GMs, accounting personnel, any position in the store from porter to president. We're here to staff that and serve and give back.
And John, if I may say, while you have assembled some amazing firepower on this panel, and we're about to hear from Jonathan Dawson, I got to say that I would not be here on social media if it were not for Anthony Santangelo. Anthony, watching you on your videos on Facebook in 2017 and 18, and watching the work you did do on behalf of Automax Recruiting and Training at the dealership, walking the lot, taking us into the training room and watching as you actually train these new recruits and preparing them for the car business. Anthony, I got a debt of gratitude to thank you. Because not only myself, you took all of us with you into those stores, and that made a profound difference on this industry. So on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Ted. I'm very humbled and honored to receive those kind words. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I've definitely felt like I've come out of my shell a lot just because of you too, Anthony. And one thing you mentioned that I want to echo, you said it several times, is that you're here to serve. And I feel like that everybody here on this panel is just that. And so I think that lends very well. Thank you, Anthony. Next, I want to talk about firepower. We have Jonathan Dawson, who is the founder of the Pinnacle Training Center, and really, it has helped me in my career and very much to develop into a better trainer, coach, and consultant. And very, very thankful for him. So I wanted to turn the floor over to Jonathan and let him say a few words.
I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity, and as well to you, Ted, and everybody else on the panel. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Dawson, the founder of Sellcology, which is selling through psychology. It's a training company that specializes in teaching the psychology behind the sale to dealership team members. We focus on out-experiencing the competition and creating raving fan advocates by helping salespeople connect emotionally and relationally to the customer. We believe fundamentally it's a people business. And so behind every website and widget, there's still a human being. And so Sellcology is essentially the science and the art of relationship building. And we teach that through the methods that we bring. Now, we created then the Pinnacle Society, and that was myself, Ali, who you just met, and a gentleman by the name of Frank Cornetti. Frank is also a top performing salesperson. I believe his personal best is 1,253 in a year, and I think 154 in a month. He is a Honda salesperson, and much like Ali, he selling retail sales has achieved these amazing heights, these incredible, what we call pinnacle levels of success through relationship building, through marketing, and through changing his mindset and belief system. So I'm the co-founder with Frank and Ali of the Pinnacle Society. That was something we created a couple of years ago for high-producing, top-performing salespeople. Our slogan is, it's no longer lonely at the top. We wanted to create a community and a family for high producers. And then from that, the birth of that, and everything that was just described about what happened with COVID, and everybody's being pushed to this virtual world like we're doing now, there became this pressing need. And my clients pressed it upon me and said, John, we've got to get back to workshops and seminars and classes. There's so much value that comes from that format of training and learning environment. So there was a little bit of a pressure from that side of the market. And then I'm a father of a 3-year-old, and being a new dad and wanting to be home with her more often, I realized also that putting a training center in place and creating an environment where people could come to would also maybe take me off the road a little bit, so I wouldn't be hopping on as many flights. And that's where the Pinnacle Training Center was birthed out of a need from the market and a need for me personally to be able to tuck my little girl in at night and do morning routines with her too. And so that's where the Pinnacle Training Center came from, and that's the Pinnacle Society, and that's Sellcology, and that's me.
And Jonathan, if I may, where is the Pinnacle Training Center located?
Yeah, absolutely. So the actual building is just a short Uber ride north of the Atlanta airport. It's about a 30 to 35 minute Uber ride from the Atlanta airport. It's in a city called Peachtree Corners. For some of your viewers, they'll be familiar with CBT News, the Car Biz Today News Network with Jim Fitzpatrick. Our training center is like a golf shot away from his building in the what's called the Technology Park up there in Peachtree Corners. And so it's a 5,500 square foot building with the capacity to classroom style seat 120, or to reduce it down to a more intimate setting because it can be partitioned to as small as 15 people, let's say. And it's got the scalability to be able to serve at that level.
So, Jonathan, you really thought it out because Atlanta is a hub. You can get direct flights into Atlanta from anywhere.
Yeah.
And, John Fairchild, just thinking, as a trainer, Ali, a lot of times, living in the Northeast in the wintertime, I've had to connect through Chicago and some of the colder climates. I would always get flights into Atlanta if I had to connect, Jonathan, because I could always get very smoothly into there. And so you're very well positioned, Jonathan, to be able to attract, people year round to the Pinnacle Training Center. So congratulations on that choice.
And that's what we found so far. We've already had for the grand opening and for a few of our classes we've had people from the West Coast, the Northeast, all over Midwest, fly in for different events already. Not only is it conveniently located relative to the airport being a central hub, but also there's a hotel that's 2 parking lots away. That's a 5-minute walk, that has a partnership with me at the training center that provides, it's a Hyatt hotel that provides preferred rates. And so it's a really easy experience to come to the training center.
And this seems to be a first because you're offering not just one type of training, but you're offering, and I love, by the way, the psychology. All of us on this panel can relate to that. But you're offering not just the salespeople and managers, but even fixed ops training. And John Fairchild, I would guess that may be something that you offer there as well.
Oh, yeah, and absolutely. I appreciate that, Ted. We actually had our inaugural service manager, service director classes recently, called Managing and Maximizing Every Opportunity. And it was really a crash course on training the trainer. And so what often happens, and the class that we had was very much skewed towards, none of them had ever really been a service advisor. And so during the class, what you want to be able to do is model the behavior, and actually to have some credibility with your staff is to be able to do what you want them to do, right? And so it was really heavily in role play, which an interactive, it was tagged as an interactive workshop, and it definitely was. We had 2 half days of complete role play scenarios, and it brings people out of their comfort zone and allows them to interact in a way that they may not have ever had to interact with. And in fact, I don't think we had I think we had one person who had been a service advisor previously. So it gave them some wherewithal to be able to do that, Ted.
And, Jonathan and John, speaking of credibility, what John just said, you've got the #1 automotive salesperson in the world on your team. And I got to ask Ali, Ali, I'm sure you're extremely busy, with what you do in your day job, but now you've added this to what it is that you do. Ali, give us some background, why now, why Pinnacle Training Center? Give us a little bit of, the insight into that.
Yeah, the best gift you can give yourself is to educate yourself, right? To stay sharp, to stay relevant. And that's initially how this whole thing started. Jonathan and I, we're having a simple conversation on my couch one time when he came in to visit. And, I said, wouldn't it be cool if we can just get like the top 20 salespeople around the country and just have like a dinner, have like a private dinner and just kind of feed off each other and just get some ideas from one another. And, of course, Jonathan doesn't think anything simple-minded, and he's like, well, that'd be a great idea. Let's get Frank on the phone. And we call Frank and we're like, hey, Frank, we have this idea. And he's like, I'm in. I bet right away. He didn't even let us tell him what it was. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And it started out as a conversation of saying, how do I become better? How do I get out there with the best in the business and try to improve what I'm doing? And we can learn something every day from everyone. And that was the simple idea of saying, let's just gather everybody and get together and learn. And of course, Jonathan, with his ideas kind of took us to the next level of, saying, let's get the society and everything that we're at today. But, it just started out with wanting to educate myself to become better. And I felt like I have a lot more room to learn. And there's people doing amazing things. Like we talked about Frank Graniti, who's doing an outstanding job with social media. And there's things that I've learned off of him. So that's kind of where it stemmed from, but, never stop learning.
And I got to tell you, Ali, I was so impressed when I watched Jonathan at the grand opening. Not only did you have a full house for days on end, but Ali, you were on stage. You were there live in person. Yeah. People can come meet you and learn, Jonathan's assembled the best in the industry, and no kidding. I mean, Ali Reda is here in person.
Ted, let me tell you something. The first time that I've ever went to a seminar, the first time that I ever went to any training type seminar, I was kind of forced to go, right? My manager at the time said, hey, I signed you up for a seminar. And I'm like, I was doing 30 cars a month at the time. And this is back in 2011, maybe 2010. And I just started at this dealership after the wind down of the previous dealer. And he was like, I signed you up. And I'm like, no, I'm busy. I can't go. And he's like, no, you're going. Scott Montgomery, my manager at the time, God bless him, because he forced me to go. And he said, you can't sell another car until you go. And guess what? The seminar was actually at the dealership. It's not like I had to go anywhere. And I was very reluctant to go. And I was never exposed to that type of training yet. So Damian Boudreau, who was running the seminar that day, who's a phenomenal person, outstanding trainer. So I go to the class because I was forced. And, and he started hitting all the right spots. I mean, he started talking about relationship selling. He started talking about all the stuff that I was doing that I wasn't aware were actual things that I can enhance and get me to that next level. Well, as I'm sitting there, he started talking about this guy that was doing 60 cars a month. And here's me thinking, I'm doing 30. I'm doing good, right? I'm busy. I don't have time for anything else, right? Here's a guy doing 60. And I'm like, if that guy's doing 60, why can't I do 60? And how do I get to that point? So, afterwards, I clinged on Damian like crazy. Afterwards, I pull him to the side and I'm like, is all this true? Everything you're talking about, this guy, Gregg, he's doing 60. And he's like, yeah, he's doing 60. I'm like, well, if he's doing 60, then I believe I could do 60. So they just shifted my mindset, right? Being in this class, being in this setting, having somebody, a coach, right? We could talk about the importance of a coach, having them figure out ways to enhance you as a person. He didn't change me as a salesperson. He didn't tell me, go say this and go do this, and here's a secret handshake. He just made me aware of things that I could be doing. And that's the ability of having a training center. That's what changed my life, going to that seminar. I can't think, if I had not gone to that seminar, where I would be today. I don't think I'd be here with you guys today. So that's how important and that's how passionate I am about having something like that set up.
Wow. And, Jonathan speaks to the psychology of it, but Ali, you're right. The mindset, and Ali, if you can share that with more people, John Fairchild, I want to hop on a plane. I want to come down there. I want to see this training, because I think, Jonathan, that Ali's right. A lot of times in our industry, we were forced to go to training, right? We had to go. But when I watch all of the video now I see on social media with Pinnacle Training Center, Jonathan, everybody wants to be there. Jonathan, they want to be in that room with you and John Fairchild and Ali Reda and Anthony Santangelo.
Well, I think that what really people want is they have in their mind a version of their life that it could be. And there's this gap where I'm at and where I think my life could be. And what people want is, with some degree of confidence, they want a map. They want to be shown a way of getting there faster or easier than what they could possibly do on their own. And so, most people, this is again a fundamental understanding of psychology, is most people's driving forces of behavior is some form of avoiding pain or gaining pleasure, right? This is a basic understanding of how people are motivated. I'm trying to get away from something I don't want, or I'm trying to move towards something I do want. And I think anybody watching this right now, if you're a general manager, if you're a service advisor, if you're, a salesperson, whatever you might role be, you have certain things that right now are bothering you about your life. There's certain agitation points, irritation points, aggravation points, things that if you allow yourself to think about them, you get frustrated. And then you have other things that if you think about them, you hope for them, you want them, you long for them even. These might even be true desires of your heart. And so what I think most of us want is, show me a way to eliminate some of this pain, even if it's just irritation pain. Like, help me find a better way to deal with this scenario, this situation, this customer interaction, this objection that I get, this challenge, this process breakdown that seems to be pathological and always showing up. Show me a way to get rid of some of this. And then show me a way to come closer to these things that I want. Speed up that timeline a little bit for me. And that's what great training, and that's what being around great mentors or great instructors can do for you. It can mitigate and eliminate, eventually even eradicate pain points so that you don't have them anymore. Because I promise you this, watching this, you can take this to the bank. The problem you currently deal with on a regular basis in some other environment, store, situation is not even on their radar. The thing you complain about is at some other store, not even an occurrence. So you have a pain that someone else has solved. And the thing that you desire, the thing that you want, that thing that you're pursuing, someone else has already. And so there is a map, and success leaves clues. And that's why I think, and I'll turn it over to Sean because I want to get his perspective as the guy from the retail dealer side. Sean, you're at the dealership. You have choices as an operator to invest in your people or to not invest, to train your people or to not train them, to let them learn through customer interaction or to let them learn intentionally through proper training. Sean, I'm curious from your perspective, again, going to psychology, I believe that training is first a philosophical commitment before it's a financial one. You make a decision up here first and in here first that I'm going to get better or my people are going to get better. Before you start spending money, you got to decide here and here. Sean, tell us a little bit about why did you send people to John's service class? Why do you believe in training when you don't have to? A lot of people don't.
Sure, John. I think it's multi-layered. And we can go back to when we purchased a group out of Georgia. We had stores that had not sent a technician to training in 3 or 4 years. Guys, these cars are evolving, and and this will wind back to what John was talking about, train the trainer, where John and I kind of honed that expression together. But how do you expect anybody to do what they don't know how to do? How do you expect a technician to fix a vehicle that they don't even know what they're working on? How do you expect a service advisor? And to John's point, the 2 individuals that we sent to the inaugural class weren't service managers. One was a warranty administrator and the other one was a technician, which we all know that on the fixed op side is a real tough conversion to do. And it has epic failure behind it, to be very honest with you. And both of them adhere to it. How do you expect them to train their advisors if they don't know how to do it themselves? And the advantage to us in Pinnacle, and the reason that we'll continue, and this isn't a Pinnacle plug, is you can't train on site, guys. You just can't. It's got to be off site. They got to get out of the grind. They got to get out of, hey, I got a client here. Hey, what about this one? Hey, what about that one? And John does a great job with us. Again, we wouldn't have the relationship because there's other people out there, but John is not a vendor of ours. John's a partner of ours. John gets to come to our board meetings. John gets to, when we hire people, and I'll lay this to the Anthony side of it of Joe's company, is when we hire people, John has a say just like we do. We group interview. And if Sean doesn't like him and 2 other people say yes, guess what? We're hiring that person. And that's the partnership we have with John. And that's why when John brought Pinnacle to us, that the off-site side of it is a no-brainer for us. Because you're not going to do walk around training for 8 hours, 2 hours for 4 days, or 4 hours for 2 days on site. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not real. And so for us, training is paramount. And if you don't train, and John's part of it, and again, I meet with Ted a lot and we talk about our partnership at the local colleges. If you're not, we tell them when you graduate college, if you're not willing to train, don't apply. Because if you aren't willing to continue your training, you will not work for us. Your pay as a technician is based on what level of certification you're going to reach with the manufacturer. And if you're not going to do it, just don't waste our time and don't waste your time. And as we work with everybody, that's one of our biggest areas of growth has definitely been training. And we won't stop there. I promise.
Can I say something on that, Sean, real quick? That training offsite, how important that is. A lot of times, my owners want to have meetings and just talk about business and see where we're going and what we're trying to do. And they're like, "Oh, can we meet at 1 o'clock, or can we meet at lunchtime, or can we meet at noon?" And in my mind, I can't do that because I know there's customers waiting for me. I know there's business down there. I know people need me. So now I like, if we want to meet, we either got to meet after work or we need to meet an hour or 2 before work, because I can't focus on what you're trying to say to me because my mind is not there. My mind is downstairs. My mind is thinking who's here, what customer needs me, and the job that I need to do. So you hit it right on the head because that is so important. And now they're like, okay, well, we'll meet at 7 o'clock in the evening after work, because that's the time that I can actually focus and listen to exactly what they're saying. So, I mean, great point. Sean.
Thank you. And again, Ali, to the point, on a service drive on the fixed op side, you pull the pin on the hand grenade at 6:30 in the morning. It is full speed until 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
And by the way, at 6 o'clock at night, brother, you've been running for 12 hours.
You're burned out too, right?
You're completely burned out. So whatever, you're not absorbing it anyway. Okay.
No.
And again, that's the advantage. You have to go off site.
Agreed.
And I'd like to add something specific to that. And then I want to, if I can ask Santangelo question because he understands training and recruiting, if I may say, more than most people on the planet because he's been so actively involved in it. But one of the reasons specifically that we put the training center the way we did, where we did, is it has a drive-up driveway. It has a ramp. You literally drive a car into the building. And so one of the things I was thinking towards when I was looking at the space, and now I'm on the retail side, my primary area of focus is retail car sales, sales management, not on the fixed side. But when I was looking to build the center, I knew that there was a pressing need and a significant need for our industry to support and develop and train and raise up the next generation of service advisors, service managers, technicians, and so forth. So I wanted to have a building that would give that true role play scenario that we were talking about. And one thing that was so awesome to see John facilitate at the service manager class was watching them do these role plays and walkarounds and vehicle check-ins and inspections on an actual vehicle in the building while people are walking around it, others observing, and just seeing, again, reenacting that, because you're right, in a real scenario at the dealership, you can't do that. You can't do that at the dealership. You can't spend 8 hours, role playing at the dealership, but you can at the training center. And so the building is designed to support exactly that. Anthony, my question for you is, you're a facilitator yourself. You're not just a recruiter. You're somebody who teaches teams how to grow and all that. You've been down to the training center yourself. What do you see as the value of that offsite? Because you know when you're doing a recruiting class like you got coming up, or a recruiting rookie school like you're doing, the value of captive audience, making sure their attention span is focused. What do you see in that?
Well, I think it goes back to, it's a saying I say in my training classes, to change your culture, you must first change your mindset. So I agree with everyone that had said that the philosophy, it starts philosophically. It does before you do it. You have to be all in, so to speak, to be able to want to do it. And Ali's right. When I was in the trench selling cars, to have a facilitator come to the store, your mind is not in that conference room. Your mind's on working deals. It's like, how many deals are you missing? What's going on? Your phone rings, you leave the room, and all that and everything. You got to be fully focused on it. But to go back to your question, Jonathan, when it comes to the growth of a people, most dealerships, and maybe not, there's no dealerships that have the budget of the New York Yankees. You got to have developed homegrown talent to be able to build them up. Well, where does it start? It starts by giving them a chance. Now, how do you give them a chance? You give them their time. The best thing you can give someone is your time. And it starts with mastering the art of the interview. And it is an art. You have to know how to interview somebody the correct way. Whether if you're doing face-to-face, I'm on site for sales, or I'm digging and I'm calling technicians and working the phones and working advisors and all that. You have to be able to understand where they're coming from and talk through that with that, and then build their confidence up. So to go back to the sales side, somebody comes in, they see an advertisement online for us stuff with Automatics. Okay, they see the money, they see the opportunity and everything, and they get past the fear to actually show up. And I guarantee you there's people that show up in the parking lot and they turn around, they never walk into the store. I guarantee that happens. But then they walk into the store. Now, what happens most of the time? You're working 2 or 3 deals at once. A third person needs an appraisal. Behind him is one of the ladies in accounting looking for clarification we put in the back screen from a deal 2 days ago. Behind her is one of the ASMs looking for a $1,500 used car safety check. You haven't had your CIT meeting yet. Your DOM's coming later today. Your owner is texting you how many deals you have. And now your receptionist comes up and says, hey, Jonathan, that interview you set up a week ago, Amanda, she's here. Now, what's your response? And all you want to do is have a Philly cheesesteak, So you have to be able to focus on that person and be 100% committed to the art of the interview to grow them into the process. And the whole great thing about the Pinnacle Training Center is it gives myself and Automax an opportunity, and all the facilitators, everybody that Jonathan has hand-selected and hand-picked to be a part of this, to be offsite, to focus on that. And then for myself, when I'm at a dealership, I can only do 1 dealership at a time. That's not the case for Pinnacle. We can have 2, 3, 4, 5 dealerships the same week, all separate ads, and have a larger pool of candidates to find the best quantity of applicants across the country.
Wow. Anthony, well said. And we can all relate to, real world stuff like you're telling us. John Fairchild, if I'm a dealer or general manager or fixed ops director watching this, and I want to, get that world-class training that's offered by Pinnacle Training for my team. John, what do you do for Fixed Ops?
Go to, and I would recommend that you do the same, Ted, if you want to come see it, is buy a ticket for our next class, Tuesday and Wednesday, Service Advisor. Go to www.pinnacletraining.center and choose your class. There's quite an array of options there. But yeah, just come and see us, Ted.
And John, you do the training personally, is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I was saying, they're extremely interactive workshops. We take people out of their comfort zone, and really, and with an emphasis for the service manager class, what it was is actually how to coach. For the service advisor class that's coming up is really what are the daily functions that you must go through every day on a retail sense to get the best customer experience and the best profitability out of what you're doing and be able to serve your client in the best way you can.
I want to congratulate everybody here today. Great success, Jonathan Dawson. You're off to a fantastic start at the Pinnacle Training Center. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. And I want to thank John Fairchild, Ali Reda, Sean Kingery, and Anthony Santangelo. You know, not enough time in this panel. We're going to have to come back and do this again soon. So I love it, everybody. So on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you to everybody here today, and a great success ahead for the Pinnacle Training Center.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Has been besieged by the stormtroopers. But not to fear, Subaru ships can withstand nearly any battle. Up next, Scott Gregg from Tucson Subaru is going to show us the importance of a flight checklist.
Those of you who watch the Fixed Ops Roundtable and follow on LinkedIn and Facebook will recognize Scott Gregg, who is the Fixed Operations Director at Tucson Subaru and a great friend of the community. And we've learned over the recent time that Scott is also a private airplane pilot. Scott, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, Ted. Thanks. It's great to be here.
I'm really jazzed because we're going to do something we've never done before, and I take you up on your offer to take us flying and share a little bit about your passion on flying, and take us through that, Scott. Tell us a little bit about what prompted your interest in aviation and what led you to become a pilot.
It started out pretty young, really. I was probably around 8 years old, maybe. My uncle had a Mooney airplane. He lived in New Orleans. He flew it to Texas, took us all for a ride. So I was kind of hooked then. And then he ended up buying an airport in Bellchase, Louisiana, and it had a seaplane canal. He sold the Mooney and bought a Cessna with floats on it. So he actually flew that to Texas too, and we went for a ride in it. But then we went to Louisiana and got to take off and land on the seaplane canal, which was really cool. And
wow.
After that, during high school, I worked at a machine shop that made aircraft movers for light aircraft. And that guy had a twin engine Baron that we used to fly around different places to get measurements for the adapters for nose gear so that they could use the tug, and got to fly a lot with him. And then finally went to see Top Gun when it came out back in 1986, I think it was. And at the end of that movie, they had a commercial for Cessna. So it'd come to your local Cessna Pilot Center and take a free introduction to flight, which I'd already had that basically, but I went there and went for a ride. And they laid out the plan to become a private pilot. And I said, sure, why not? And the rest is kind of history. It was a lot of fun. Been a lot of fun throughout my life.
Wow. So you've been a pilot now for how many years?
Yeah, 36 years.
Wow. Wow.
So I took a little hiatus there for a while. It is expensive.
So take us through this a little bit. And I know you and I and Gary House were drawing some analogies to fixed operations and, piloting an airplane. Do you want to take us through some of that, and then we'll have you show us some footage?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a huge comparison between fixed operations and being a pilot. There's so much that's just critical. In anything you do with the aircraft, there's a checklist for it. And really the same thing in fixed ops. You have to have a checklist. You have to have a plan. You have to have a roadmap to success. And that's basically the same way it is in an airplane. You cannot afford to forget anything or skip a step or do anything like that. So it's really, there's so much commonality between the two. And then also even in an aircraft, there's a certain requirement to be current, which means you're legal to fly, but that doesn't mean you're proficient. Proficient means basically you're an expert and you can do everything you need to do to get the plane in the air, back on the ground safely, so on and so forth. Same thing with fixed ops. You can be current, but that doesn't mean you're doing the best that you can do. You need to be proficient. You need to make sure you're checking all your KPIs every day. You need to make sure you're out there on the drive with your troops and, just feeling the pulse of everything. And it's really the same, currency and proficiency is not the same thing. And it's critical in fixed ops. And just being attention to detail. You got to have that when you're flying a plane. You got to have that in fixed ops too. You got to have attention to detail. You got to see what's going on. You got to notice, does somebody have their name badge on? Do they have it on the right way? Little things like that, which sets the basis for a good customer service experience for your customers and guests.
We're going to show the first video that you sent us where you're kind of getting everything ready. And, what type of plane is this? And, give us a little backdrop on that before we show.
It's a 1970 Piper Cherokee. The designator is a PA-28 140. Okay. Came with a 150 horse engine. There's actually a conversion you can do, put high compression pistons in it. Makes it 160 horsepower, which has been done on this one. And then also there's a power flow exhaust system, which gives it about another 6 to 10 horsepower. So it's close to 180. And still in the heat out here, which makes the air thinner. It's a struggle sometimes to get off the ground even, but it does a good job. It's a great airplane and it handles really well. You can just let go of the controls and it'll pretty much fly itself. But yeah, it's carbureted engine, 4-cylinder. It's a flat 4, comparable to Subaru, I guess. And It's an 0320, which means overhead valve. It is carbureted, like I said, and then it's 320 cubic inch, which is pretty big for a 4-cylinder.
All right. Well, in this first video, I think you're getting everything ready. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Okay.
A Piper Cherokee. It's a 1970 model, PA 28140. Comes with 150 horsepower. This one's had a conversion which allows you to put higher compression pistons in it. Makes it 160 horsepower, and then it has a power flow exhaust which adds about another 10 horsepower. Carbureted engine, old school, definitely, but still gets the job done. We're doing a little pre-flight here and make sure everything's good to go. Obviously, when you're in air, you can't just pull over. You can glide, but you can't just pull over. And we'll take it for a little ride.
Now, in your hands there, Scott, is that the checklist?
That is the checklist. I actually have multiple copies of it stashed different places, and I have a laminated copy in the plane as well. So always keep that checklist handy. I actually brought a copy of it here. You can see it's been well used and well loved because I do use it all the time. I do know some people that try to do it from memory. I just don't recommend that. And same thing with running a service department. Don't try to do it from memory. Have your to-do list, have your checklist, and make sure every day check this, and this, because if you don't and you forget, all of a sudden, oh, what happened here? And then you got to chase your tail. And, it's much better to be proactive than reactive in any situation. So that's why a checklist is so critical.
And we saw you getting ready and preparing. How much time, and I know this will vary, but how much time do you spend preparing, before you actually go up?
It typically takes about 20 minutes. There is several things you have to check on the aircraft. Obviously, when you're in the air, you can't just pull over to the curb. So it's really critical to make sure that everything is up to snuff and going to do what it's supposed to do once you get it started and get up in the air.
And you've got these pretty neat goggles. I'll show the video, then I'll let, I think it'll describe what you're doing, but we'll come back to that right after it runs here. Here it is.
In order to practice flying in instrument conditions, have these nifty little glasses. As you can see, the top part's all fogged. All you can see is this little area right here. That's so that you cannot see outside the plane. You can only see the instruments when you're looking down at them. And that simulates fog or storms or whatever you might be flying through, where you have to fly by your instruments on the dash only, which this plane is instrument IFR certified, so it is capable of doing that. And I am IFR rated to fly in instrument conditions. So it's a good thing to know. It makes your flying much more precise and just makes you a better pilot all the way around. Plus, if you ever get caught in something, you have the capability to fly through it. So just a little tidbit there.
So, Scott, that's for practice.
That is for practice. It's called simulated instrument conditions, because you obviously can't go out and find a storm all the time when you want to, or fog, whatever. So to practice, and also it's usually can be kind of bumpy in a storm. So for practice, you can wear those. The only thing you can see is just the instrument panel. You can't see outside the plane at all. And you just have to fly strictly by instruments, which does make you extremely precise. And it's critical. They're what they consider tolerance. You can't vary more than 100 feet on your altitude, because they give you a set altitude, and you can't vary more than 10 degrees on your heading on your compass. Or when you take the test, for example, you break those, you fail your proficiency test. So
wow. Now, I want to ask you, have you ever, I know you do a weather report before you go up, but, in 30 some years, have you ever encountered an unexpected thunderstorm or bad weather and you're already up in the air?
it hasn't been so bad here in Arizona, but I do fly to Texas sometimes, and I learned how to fly in Texas. So, yeah, a lot of unexpected thunderstorms pop up there, and especially back when I was learning to fly in the 80s, the weather reporting and everything was not quite as good as it is now. And you never knew when you might run into a thunderstorm. I did run into a pretty bad one once out around Sulphur Springs, and actually flipped a plane upside down in the air. So it was exciting.
That's pretty scary. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I was glad my instructor happened to be with me then, because I let him have the controls real quick.
All right, so let's go back to the checklist. I think we're getting ready to go up, and you've got the checklist in hand, and I'll let you. Well, I think the video will describe what you're doing right now.
Right.
We'll test our mixture. Carb heats off, magnetos. Run it up to about 2,000 RPM, and then check as little magneto to check each one. Make sure there's not too much RPM drop on it. Just to make sure it's very solid.
So, Scott, the plane is running, and you're going through this checklist.
Right. Right. You do the walk around, it's called, which is the exterior part, and also checking the oil. You also take fuel samples. There's 3 different places to take fuel samples and make sure you don't have any water in the fuel or anything like that. And then once you get inside and get it running, then you have to do your run up, it's called, about 2,000 RPM. You check both your magnetos. You also check carb heat, make sure it's working, because you can experience actually carb icing, and it can stall a plane or cause a big reduction in power. So it has carb heat that actually funnels heat from the engine to the carburetor to melt any ice. And then you also check all your gauges. It has a vacuum pump on it. You got to check, make sure your vacuum is good, because that operates some of the instruments. Of course, oil pressure, oil temperature, fuel pressure, things like that, charging system. So you check all of that before you take off. If any of them are not in the green, and it's a no-go situation, you have to go back and figure out what happened.
How important is that checklist to keeping you organized?
It's extremely important, because it's really easy, in the heat of the moment, or, it keeps you on track, keeps you organized. And again, going back to fixed ops, that's why it's so important that you have a checklist or you have a to-do list, because there's so many, especially in fixed ops, there's so many distractions constantly all day. A customer wants to talk to you, or somebody needs your ear, or somebody needs you to sign something, or this, that, or the other. It's so easy to get distracted and completely forget to do something that you need to do every day or every week, or maybe just once a month even. But I keep sticky notes on my computer with all my different things that I've got to do, end of the pay, end of the month, all the different time periods, and my daily checklist too. So, but yeah, that checklist is critical, because it is super easy. And I actually had it got sucked out. The door was open. It got sucked out the door one day. And I felt so lost without that checklist. Luckily, I had another one in my bag.
And that's why you carry multiple copies. Okay.
That's why. Yeah. Because I'm like, I can do this without it. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to have to dig through my bag and find my other one. So.
All right. We're about to go up. We're about to take off. I think everything's green. And here we go. I got to ask you, Scott, is there a point, you're going down the runway, you're building up speed, is there a point of no return where, okay, it happens at this point that we're going up? I mean, describe that if you could.
Yeah, there is a go, no go, basically. And there's markers along the runway that tell you how far you've gone. There's one at 1,000 feet, and then halfway, and then 2/3 of the way. By the time you get to the halfway marker, if you're not more than 50% of what your takeoff speed is going to be, then you need to abort. Because if you wait too much longer than that, you'll run out of runway and run off the end of it. And everything in an aircraft, every single aircraft has V speeds, they call them. And those are speeds that are certified for that aircraft. For instance, the rotation speed on this one's 65 miles an hour. So when if you're not at least 35 or 40 by the time you hit halfway, you're probably not going to make it. So you need to just shut it down. And then best landing speed, they have best rate of glide. If you have an engine failure, it's 82 miles an hour on this plane. You set your glide speed for 82. That'll give you the most distance with the least rate of descent possible, so that you can try to make it to an airport or whatever. They have stall speeds. They have never exceed speeds. So and it's all on that checklist.
So this is all part of the planning prior to going up.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
I got to ask you, I asked this to Bob Tasca, who's, racing cars. I said, Bob, what's going through your mind in those couple seconds as you're heading down the track? Scott, I got to ask you, as you're taking off, as you're going down the runway, you're building up speed. What's going through your head right now?
Mainly just watching all the gauges and watching my speed. So I know when I'm at the rotation speed. You're also pulling back on the yoke. You can kind of feel when you start to, they call it come alive. Your airspeed comes alive. That means you're getting enough airflow under the wings. It's going to start to lift you. And it's exciting. It's very exciting. Takeoff is probably one of the most fun parts of flying. But yeah, just watching everything. The propeller causes a lot of left torque. So you got to put in a lot of right rudder so that you don't go off the runway to the side. You got to keep up with that. If there's any crosswind, you got to be adjusting for that because especially if there is some crosswind, when you lift off, it can blow you over to one side, depending on which way the wind's coming from. So you got to be aware of all that. And mainly just watching the gauges. That's kind of what you fly by and live by in a plane.
We've got a last video. We are up in the air. I think we're approaching, is it Sedona?
Yes, Sedona, Arizona, yeah.
Tell me about approximately how high up are we in the video?
Probably around 8,500 feet coming in. The airport there is actually on top of a mesa, and it's about 5,400 feet. So you got to get down to around 6,500 is the pattern altitude, they call it. And it's kind of tricky getting in there. There's a lot of wind and stuff because it's up on top of that mesa.
Okay. We're going to show
taking off.
We're going to show a little bit of it here. Let's take a look.
Okay.
That's really a feeling of exhilaration when you're up.
Yeah, it is. And Sedona is really pretty. So it's fun to fly in there. It's fun it's challenging to land, but it's fun to land. And then taking off, you feel like you're just jumping off a cliff basically, because when you lift off, all of a sudden it drops away really quickly. And
wow.
It's
so
a lot of fun.
You've drawn several analogies to fixed ops and being ready and being prepared. One last question: what qualities make a good pilot, Scott? What do you think, having flown now for many years?
I think you have to really have a lot of attention to detail. That's critical when you're flying. You have to be able to focus very well, because there are distractions. You've got people talking to you on the radio and trying to adjust your maps and your radios, different frequencies, things like that. So you got to really be able to focus on one task, complete it, and go to the next one. Just being calm too. You can't get excited. You can't panic. Things happen. You got to overcome them. It's just like in fixed ops. That happens all day, every day. There's always something coming up, and you got to just remain calm and work through it. And sun will still come up tomorrow.
Wow, Scott, thank you so much.
Great
footage. Thank you. And how did you mount the camera on the plane there? How'd you do that?
So the plane has a tie down on each wing and also one on the tail, and they actually make an adapter that attaches to those tie downs. And then there's a Garmin Verb camera that I used. It has a bracket that attaches it to those adapters, and it does pretty good. You can actually control it with your phone from inside the plane, so that's kind of cool.
Wow. And I couldn't help but notice during the checklist you had a helper. Who went up with you?
That was my wife. She's my co-pilot most of the time, although my grandson likes to go sometimes, and I've got a cockatoo. He likes to go.
That's right. Yes, you sent me some pictures of that. So
yeah,
we'll post that on social media. I like that.
Right.
Wow. Any final words for fixed ops? Having now shown us a lot of the similarities, the preparation, the calmness, the checklist, the attention to detail, even the most small, minute detail.
Yeah, I think that's the most critical thing. You really, really have to stay focused on what you need to achieve, and you have to have a checklist to guide you, to-do list, whatever you want to call it, sticky note, something, but you do have to have that roadmap to success. Otherwise, you're going to trip and could even fail. You don't want to face that. So always stay focused and pay attention to detail. The smallest details matter. They really do. And follow your checklist every day.
And bring a backup or two, right?
Right. Always have a backup. Yeah, absolutely. Redundancy for everything. That's the airplane way.
Great advice, Scott, Gregg. Great advice for life, let alone fixed ops. So, Scott, thank you so much for, all your participation, especially in this event. You've done a lot for the fixed ops and continue to do a lot for the community. So thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, thank you, Ted. And thanks for allowing me to share my footage. I always I take a lot of kids up sometimes for their first flight. So it's always a lot of fun to share flying with people.
Love it. Thank you for sharing it with the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Scott Gregg from Tucson Subaru here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, John Traver here at Traver Connect. Thanks for joining us on our Service BDC video today. If you've already partnered with us, we appreciate your partnership over these past years. If you're new to us, we look forward to getting to hear your story and come alongside you relative to Service BDCs. When you hear the term Service BDC, the first word for me that comes to mind is calls. That's what really a Service BDC is going to be built around, both inbound and outbound calls. Those calls are going to load your shop, it's going to drive your RO count, and ultimately, it's going to tee up your next retail unit. One reason the Service BDC is so successful today, so important today, is it has a massive amount of opportunity in the form of those incoming calls. The cell phone changed everything. It's increased the amount of calls to dealerships, and as a result, we have to have a team of people centralized to take those calls. It's always been busy in service, but today when you ask dealers, they tell you they need help.
With only 3 service riders, it's virtually impossible for my service riders to load the shop effectively and efficiently in order to keep my shop full.
The second thing I'd be thinking about if I were you is, what do my calls sound like? What is our statement of work in those calls? Are we asking for email, address, phone number? Do we use a time and mileage approach to make sure we're pre-selling to any additional needs, or are we just order taking and then trying to take care of the customer when they get there and tell them we need their car all day? So what you want to do is establish a clear roadmap for how your calls are going to be handled. We'll help you do that, whether it's virtually here through our BDC or we do it with your team at your dealership. So perhaps you're like some dealers, when they hear us talk about centralizing the calls here in Dallas, Texas, they wonder what that call might sound like.
One thing I like about Traver is that my customers feel as though they're dealing with someone within my own store. I've had several customers come to my store and ask to speak to Chelsea when my people that realize Chelsea doesn't work there, she actually works in the call center in Dallas.
I have you scheduled for the recall. Was there anything else?
Let me tell you, you're like the most professional person I've ever spoken to, I think.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Thank you.
No, I'm serious. I'm being completely serious. No, we don't need anything else. That was great.
You have a wonderful day.
Okay, you're doing a great job. You sound good on the phone. So
Oh,
when I see Herb, I'll tell him he's a great person on the phone.
We're built for service BDCs, 60,000 square feet of workstations and personnel trained to take inbound calls. There's a handful of ways we can help you. We can help you with a virtual service BDC where we take your calls. We can help you with outbound campaigns, filling in those open spots in your schedule, turnkey, not just getting the customer to call, but actually taking the call and loading it in your scheduler. 3, training for your business development manager, for your business development rep. How do they take these calls? We'll bring them into our customer experience center if they're a BDM, or we'll provide online training for those BDRs. Leadership education for you. You're wondering, what are my KPIs? What should my staffing plan be? We can walk you through this in less than a day. And then tools, everything from texting, mobile payments, even in-dealership software to help your BDRs. So hopefully you see we're built for service BDCs. This is what we do, not what we talk about, and we hope to be talking to you soon.
Mom, you said the biggest problem in the universe is nobody helps each other. But Laurie Halter is here with some Jedi Masters who are going to change the universe and tell us how to support our technicians. We're saved!
What a great time in our industry to support our technicians, and it is none better than the Maple Hill Auto Group here with us today. And both Laurie Halter is here to moderate the panel, and I want to thank Jeff Daniel as well for helping to put all this together. Laurie and Jeff, thank you so much.
Yes, of course. And we can't forget Roger Conan.
Yes.
Roger Conan, Laurie, has been very instrumental in
Yes.
putting this together. His Support Your Techs initiative has been a great thing for the industry. And, you know, Laurie, I look forward to seeing a lot more of what Roger has in store for us.
I agree. It's going to be great.
So, Laurie, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get started.
Great. Well, guys, welcome so much. And thanks again, like we said, to Roger and Jeff for putting this panel together today. What we're finding from the industry and what we're finding is becoming more important overall is retaining and engaging our staff members. And never have we seen that to be more true in the technicians department. So thank you, first of all, for being here. We're going to show you some stats and talk a little bit about how we can help that department become more supportive of their techs. So thank you all for being there. I want to quickly have you each introduce yourself and tell me how long you've been in your position. And Jordan, we'll start with you.
Jordan Smith, Master Volkswagen Technician. I've been here for 15 years.
Okay, Arrin.
Arrin Barry Robinson. I've worked here at Maple Hill for 6.5 years. Currently just reached ASC Master for Subaru.
Very nice. Brittany.
Brittany Parker. I am a Subaru Master Technician, ASE Master Technician. I've been here for 4 years now.
Wonderful. And Jeff, who put our panel together.
I've just started 2 weeks ago.
He's our newest panel member.
For the 40th year again, but it's been a very good industry for me. This is an awesome group of people. Couldn't think of a better platform. Don't have much of a voice, apologize, but this is the core of our business sitting here, and the attention that Roger and Ted and you bring to the table are what makes my job easier, and the people that are with us right now bring it to the forefront. It's an amazing group of talent.
Well, we're very excited to have all of you here today, and it's going to be a great discussion. Victoria, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Victoria Handlang. I am an express tech in the service lane, and I've been here for about 5 months now.
Okay, so you're probably our newest. Rebecca, let us know a little bit about you.
I'm Rebecca Shelton. I run the express team, and I've been here for about 6 months.
Okay, what I love about this panel, what I think is so neat, is we have techs from 6 months to 15 years, well, to 40 plus a year, new years, right, Jeff? Techs across the board. So let's quickly look at a slide that shows what brought about this panel for us. We found this slide, Roger specifically found this slide for us, technician turnover versus tenure. And what was so interesting to us is, as you see, the turnover rate in the first year is close to 50%. So you're looking at the first 12 to 18 months losing half of our techs. Thank you so much, Ted. I think with that in mind, I'd like to go back to our panelists and tell us a bit about what might have helped you. Some of you are within your first year, so let's go to you first. But what might have helped you in your first year, or what is Jeff and his team doing that is helping you stay engaged in your first year? Let's go to the newest first. So Victoria, what would you say have been some of the things that have helped you in your first 5 months in your position?
Just everyone being very nice and very patient with me. Just taking their time to show me things, and even if I ask a million times, they don't get irritated. So that helps a lot. I know that I have all the help that I need.
That's great. Well, and I think we hear that a lot. Training and really having someone who can shadow and kind of be that support person seems to be a really growing theme with this. So let's go to Brittany, because I think you also have been there 6 months. What would you say in your first 6 months have you seen?
It's Rebecca.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's a lot of helping. So like I'm able to go to Arrin or Brittany or any of the Subaru techs if I have questions that I can't answer from my techs. If we have things that we look at and we don't know, able to go to them at any given point and say, hey, I need help. And they're like, okay, give me a minute. I'll be over there. And then also the training through Subaru and the other service advisors that I have up front as well. So just being able to go to anyone on this team throughout the entire building and ask, hey, can I grab you for a second? And they're always willing to be there for us.
That is fantastic. Jordan, I want to talk to you because you've been there 15 years, which is pretty incredible. What changes, have you seen any changes? What changes have you seen? And what would you say you has been nice to see over the evolution of the 15 years you've been there?
Well, I had hair when I started, so that was different. When I started, it was you didn't get a lot of help from the people that have been here longer, really knew what was going on as far as tech-wise. I think the flat rate mentality kind of really kicked that into high gear. So it was a lot of struggling through and figuring things out on your own. So now we're really trying to support the younger guys and girls coming through to help them with that stuff so they don't have to sit there spinning their wheels.
Yeah, no, that definitely seems to be the theme, is finding help and all of the support. Arrin, do you have anything to add to this, or what would you say about your experience there?
So I think I agree completely with Victoria and also with Jordan. Having somebody help you and want you to strive better, that was one thing for me that really helped out. I actually knew somebody here that took me under his wing for quite some time, always showing me new things, wanting me to learn things, wanting me to do better. And it helped a lot. It helped keep me interested and made me want to become a tech. That way, when I went to Jeff and said, hey, I want to be a tech, he took that and he knew I was ready to do so, and he pushed me forward to do it.
Well, and I also love one of the things we're talking about here is you having the growth to come forward and say, I'd like this. So I think, Jeff, we're going to come to you in just a minute. I want to talk to Brittany, but, Jeff, I think what I'd like to talk about with you after we hear from Brittany is really what are you looking for in techs that are ready to grow? How are you helping, support them? But Brittany, the real Brittany, I'd love to hear from you, your experience as well. And especially as a female, have you seen any differences in that, or is it really just kind of the support and training has been the key?
What was the initial question again? I'm sorry.
In terms of what your experience has been so far, like what has your experience been as a tech?
Well, I've worked a few places before here, and of course, you're pretty green when you first start. But my interest in cars has kept me going. That's what I love the most. I love working on cars, and when I think about doing anything else, it kind of makes me sad, honestly. So I just push myself forward and found a spot that I really like. So the team here supports each other and has kept me here and happy. I love working on Subarus.
Very cool. I mean, Jeff, one of the things I've heard across the board and a theme is just support and help. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you've tried to do in your department and some of the key things that you've tried to push forward as initiatives to really help this come to fruition for your techs?
We've had a very supportive owner that allows me the freedom to change pay plans, to compensate technicians. So part of what Roger and I have discussed and we've discussed is the deflection of staff, A, pay, B, lack of training, lack of recognition, lack of acknowledgement. It's amazing when I sat through these last 3 weeks of visiting other brands around the country, out of 150 stores, talking to people, how few of them really put the front and center of the fixed ops department on their website. How many of them put their staff pages and pictures up there and are willing to do things like this to bring exposure to the industry. I asked people that obviously from 15 years to 4 months, would you do this? And nobody batted an eyelash. And that's kind of what we do at the dealership level. I found out they're sending technicians to school, not us, that they make drive 3 hours to go to a class that's 8 hours long and drive home because the dealer doesn't want to put them in a hotel room.
Wow.
I mean, if I work there, absolutely not. They're better than that. They're our lifeblood of our business.
Yep.
And without them, I can turn the lights off in the office and go home. They don't build a perfect car yet. There's not a manufacturer out there that's, including Tesla, that's built one that doesn't need stuff. And it's grateful to have the growth we've had from within. A lot of people start from Express, move up the ladder, and we keep them. It's all about retention. That's the key to this panel is how do we get them past that 18-month?
Yep.
How do we get them to, I can make a living, I can make a career. I'm going to work 5 days a week and have a life. So,
yeah, I think, and one of the things that I've seen a lot as we've looked into this is just the level of appreciation and acknowledgement doesn't seem to always be there especially within this department. So I'd love to ask each of you, people are listening on this call that we'd like them to go back and help their techs. What are some ways that they can how would you like to be acknowledged? And what are some things that they could do for you that would be, if you're a tech in a different, dealership, that would make you feel appreciated? And let's see, Jordan, let's start with you.
I guess it's just the recognition. So for us, they really made sure to put a forefront the training of the younger guys. And that also had to come with compensation because it is a full-time job of making sure that not only are they getting the right information and then executing correctly. The car leaves here and you can make sure that it is A-okay and not going to have any issues. So that takes a lot of time and patience, and it doesn't do anybody a good service if they're getting, partial attention paid, basically.
Yeah, I would say this is probably the one department where that's the most important, right? Is making sure that the vehicle is driving out safe and secure.
Right.
Yeah. Arrin, do you have anything to add to that in terms of like easy ways department managers who may be listening can really help make their techs feel appreciated?
Acknowledgement is a big thing. Say you go to training and you pass the class, don't just, oh, you passed the class, be like, hey, good job, shake your hand, actually come and talk to your tech about that and let them know how proud you are of them. Especially, plans as well, plans for, I don't want to say pay per se, but just coming to them and say, hey, you do this, we're looking to do this with you. Giving them something to look forward to is also big too when they're going to training and going to get the acknowledgement for it.
I love that idea, like showing a growth path, right? If you continue in this way, these will be the rewards that you'll be rewarded with in the future.
Correct.
Yeah, I love that. Brittany, do you have anything to add?
Incentives for pay are great.
Yes.
It pushes people forward to continue to get their certifications. But as far as recognition goes, I think it's cool that we have awesome Christmas parties and we nominate MVPs. So that's a lot of fun. That's a great way to recognize your people.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I think what I'm hearing, and Jeff, you can jump in on this, these aren't really big, expensive things. Your wonderful techs are saying, we're looking for training opportunities, we're looking for growth, we're looking for recognition and appreciation. That's really what they're talking about. And so can you explain or talk to us a little bit about what are just some very easy ways that people listening can go back and do this today for their techs and their departments?
Well, today, if you start somebody today, they want their opinion voiced and heard and to be part of the team concept. But when they start today, they should have a 6-month plan. Technicians want, in the first 90 days, they want to be involved in training. They want to be able to dig their meat in a little bit and look at websites and learn about the brand and learn about whatever and start getting their feet wet, or they're just another number. And then where do you progress from there? And when do I go away to school? And then what do we do with tools? What do we do with when they're gone? We give them a car and a hotel room and spending money and zero problem sending people to school. And, that's my job as a leader, is make sure that the store is staffed with trained people. Now we've got some, Jordan last year was #1 VW tech in the country.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
So there's recognition that some of the brands do that are above and beyond. Technician retention programs. VW has it. Subaru has it. Hyundai just came out with it. Some of the other brands don't. They're behind. It's not always the dealer. It's got to be bought into by the OEMs as well, where they invest in the future, because without the trained staff in front of us, the fix right first time goes down the hill, and Laurie's car doesn't start in the driveway, and there's no technician available for 6 months to work on your car.
Right.
And that's when we've lost 500,000 or 600,000 technicians in the past 5 years. That's why it's critical to have an open door, to listen, to pay for their certification test. If they fail, you get them books, material, training, and you pay for it again. It's an investment. You're not spending money if you're getting it back. It's an investment, and you invest in every person that's on this panel to further the industry.
Yeah, and obviously to get the retention, because you have, a tech on here who's got more than 15 years with you, which is very rare in this space. So, yeah. Well, I want to turn just quickly to females, because females represent less than 1% right now, guys, of technicians, which is mind-blowing. So, Rebecca, talk to us a little bit about, are there some ways you think that we can make this more, look better to females entering? How can we help females that are coming into the space as technicians? 1% is just not good enough. We need to do better.
It definitely isn't. I think females coming into this need to understand that it's not special treatment. I mean, you're going to be treated just like everybody else. And I feel like a lot of people sugarcoat it and they're like, oh, you'll be fine, and we kind of need to let them know that, hey, this is hard work. You are going to be on your feet for a certain amount of time a day, and don't just walk them in like, hey, you'll be fine. We're going to treat you a little bit differently. Just kind of group them together with everybody and let them know this is what's going to happen. And, like Victoria here coming in, she has been amazing and number one on my team. And I've got 4 other guys and she fits right in. And we kind of just from day one said, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going to happen. And I think everybody kind of needs to do that. We treat females as this delicate little thing, and we're not.
Yeah.
We may not have everything that a man does, but we can do just as much.
Yes, I love that. And I hear that a lot. I work with women across numerous departments in the automotive space, and that, like, don't treat us like anyone else, just treat us like the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Is probably the number one statement I hear the most across the board. And so let's go to Victoria. You are, again, like the newest, you're female. You kind of represent all the new things coming into the space, which are fantastic. What do you think we can do to attract more females into this role?
I agree with Becca a lot. We get treated differently a lot. And I think if we just get mixed in with the group and just get treated the same, then I think that works a lot. No special treatment. You want to be treated like everyone else. I think that really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. And Brittany, I love what you said about just loving cars. So I think, should we look for the women who are passionate about vehicles? I mean, what was it with you that made you enter this space? Just your love of fixing cars?
I love fixing everything. So I have a knack for it. Anything really. But yeah, I mean, I went to school for this. I picked a career that I didn't have to go to college for 4 years. But once I started doing it, I just kept falling in love with cars more and more.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this is an incredibly physical job. And if you're a woman coming into this industry and you want to be a technician, you have to understand that. I mean, I'm swinging hammers, sledgehammers, I'm pulling engines, I'm working with my hands and with my feet, moving around, I'm doing it all just like the guys do. So, if you're prepared and you love cars and that's what you want to do, then absolutely. There's no reason why you shouldn't come into this industry.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jeff, what do you think from a hiring standpoint? Are there certain things you look for across the board? Are there certain things women bring that men don't? Or is it just really like the love, like Brittany's saying, love and passion for cars?
Yes.
You're like, this is a loaded question.
I'd make it a point to hire the person and teach them the job. Mm-hmm. Male, female, it doesn't matter to me. Do I cater to anybody differently? No. Mm-hmm. This young lady picks up tires that weigh more than she does to complete the job on the car. Hasn't once said, hey, will you get this for me? Hasn't asked for special provisions. What I would love to see happen for women in the drive, let's put some female bathrooms and locker rooms in dealerships.
Yes.
So they don't have to knock on the door and say, hey, coming in to wash my hands. So I know there's some dealers that are building new facilities. We talked about this in California. I talked about it in South Carolina. How many people out of 93 raised their hands that said they've got a locker room specifically for females? Not one.
Wow.
It's hard to tell somebody, go use the women's restroom where the employees are where customers are walking in, and you've got grease dripping from your elbows. So those are some of I take my hat off because they've got a tougher road, not only learning the business that's been a guy business forever, but we've put so many roadblocks up there still to this day to make their job more difficult. Even something as simple as, I need to go wash my hands or go to the bathroom. Where do I go?
Yeah.
And those are, so it's amazing to be able to keep and retain staff and get somebody like Brittany ASE certified to where Yeah, I can handle anything. It doesn't matter what brand car. I know it's going to get fixed. I do the same thing with Jordan. Eventually, I want to do that with Victoria. So you got to have a plan. You got to have a path, and you got to have a team that is willing to help everybody along the way. And it's not I, me, my. I don't want to hire that person because they might cut my hours. That's my job, is make sure everybody gets paid.
Right,
And
right.
make sure we've got the right team.
Well, and I think it's important to note that as we're talking about training and support and all of these, you know, everyone has mentioned pay plans. So at the end of the day, these are still employees at our businesses. And so it's important to also financially compensate, you know, so that all of the tips and tricks and training is great. But at the end of the day, we're all doing a job. And so I think pay plans are a very, very big part of this, and using pay plans to ensure that we're showing we appreciate our employees. Yeah. Well, let's do one last lightning round, guys. We're almost out of time, but I want to hear from each of you. I'm going to start again with Jordan. I keep picking on Jordan because he's been around the longest. What would you say in the next 5 to 10 years we can do? This, I'm really putting you all in the hot seat. What in the next 5 to 10 years do you think we can do to really improve the technician experience? And it can really be anything. It can be things we've talked about or something way off the board that we haven't even looked at yet.
I think it all comes from the support, knowing that they're not going to be thrown into the deep end and that they're going to have the chance to build those skills. I've been doing it 15 years and I still learn new things every day, and sometimes from the new guys. So it's just one of those, you've got to put the time in, and they need to know that their time is going to be rewarded.
Yep.
The cars keep changing, so it's not like you figure it out and then you're good for the rest of your career. You got to keep learning, and that continuous learning is a big part of it. So
I love that. Arrin, what would you have to add to that?
I agree completely. I would also add that have plans with your employees as well as management. Even if you're at the max point, you know, change with the economy how pay plans are done. Make sure you give your employees reviews on how they're doing, and make sure that they know that there's always room for improvement. Give them something to improve upon, and always give them something to look forward to in the future as well.
Yeah, I love what you said earlier about the growth path and how important it is to really see areas of growth for you as you move forward within the department and even outside of the department, but really a growth path within. I don't think enough of our leaders do that today, especially in the technician side of things.
Sure.
Brittany, what would you say?
There's a couple things that are pretty important to me. Vacation time is important because I feel like in this industry, burnout can get real. Like I said, it is incredibly physical, and sometimes it gets stressful.
Yeah.
So, you know, pay time off is important to me. And I also think that now that electric vehicles are coming out, flat rate's going to have to change, unfortunately. I think that something's going to have to happen about that because we don't want to rush on these cars.
I think that's so valid. And that's a whole nother panel discussion. It's like, as these electric cars come, they're just so much more complex. And so I really appreciate that you brought that up. And again, we may have to come back with that discussion at a different time. Let's see, Victoria, what would you say?
Just continue broadening the support, making sure everyone has everything they need and feel treated the same, you know, no one treated differently or anything. And a bathroom would be nice.
A bathroom, right? Let's be honest, a bathroom.
We wouldn't have to walk all the way over to the customer area just to wash your mower or whatever. So that would be nice too.
Boys and girls, if there's anything you can hear out of this, it's get a bathroom for the women. Okay. And we'll finish up with you, Rebecca. What would you have to say?
Just the support system. Make sure you have a solid support system. Make sure that if, you know, you say, okay, your end goal is B and they reach that, make sure there's more for them, because I don't want to plateau and then just be stuck. And I'm going to get bored. I really am. Yeah. And I just make sure that you have some place to go and room to grow, even if you hit that point.
I love that. And then Jeff, do you have any final thoughts?
You know, just the exodus happens between 12 and 18 months, which is typically when a technician starts to actually have to buy tools. and has to buy a toolbox. And now the Snap-on guy is their favorite person when they come in every week, and their paycheck is gone. So we need to look at seriously retention plans, tool programs, reimbursement for continued education, support staff if they're out for maternity leave or whatever. I mean, those are things that every other industry has. The automotive industry has said, nope, you buy your own tools, you go to work, you spend a lot more money, you buy more tools, you go to work, you buy more tools. Your doctor in a hospital doesn't have to buy the scalpel he's using.
Right.
See that. But yet every technician in here has probably bought 50 10 millimeter sockets because they all go somewhere. I'm not sure where. Maybe it's Russia. I don't know. But they're going somewhere as a mass exodus, getting together. And tools are a big part of why, when Roger and I were talking, why do these people leave? Well, all of a sudden they buy a $5,000 toolbox with 2 sockets and a screwdriver in it.
Yeah.
That's not going to make them any money.
Right.
But let's get a basic starter set. Let's get them going in the program, get them trained, help them with some tool bills. The techs that already have tools, let's help them financially.
Wow.
Perfectly said, right, Ted? I mean, look at this panel. So impressive.
Everybody, I took a lot of notes, and Jeff, some of the most basic and fundamental things. We talk in the industry about why are there not more, women as techs, yet, to not have a restroom, right? I mean, how fundamental, right, is that? And what is the message that, that we're sending there, right? So, we've had a number of techs on the show this time, and that's a hard job. We've had techs actually show us their hands and say, you know what, once I go behind that dashboard, there's a lot of sharp objects. There's a lot of, I put myself at risk every day for who? For the customer, right? And, Marcos Wanenberg did a post just last week, Laurie, on LinkedIn. And he had thousands and thousands of likes and comments where he said, hey, to the customer, I'm here to work on your vehicle. Please understand, I don't want to have your vehicle wait for parts. I want to get your vehicle done. Okay. And being a technician is a hard job. So you've brought a lot of things to light here, and we're going to invite you all back, and let's work on these things. And I think a lot of folks watching this are taking good notes, Laurie. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I've heard the themes of, training, pay plan, growth routes, and bathrooms, guys, bathrooms.
And also what Brittany, one of the things, you were on the show, late last year, we're hearing also culture at the dealerships. It's not always about the money. It's, there's a lot of other things, to, respect our employees and, to make them a part of the community, because the technician is the one putting those hours out, Jeff, right? So
right.
Great stuff, everybody. I want to thank you all so much for being here. Maple Hill Auto Group, Jeff Daniel, thank you so much, Jeff, for all you do for the industry as well. Great leader. And Laurie Halter, thank you for moderating and helping put this together. And Roger Conant, wherever you are, thank you so much.
Absolutely. In the background.
Support your techs, everybody. Thank you all here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Take a moment now to put your lightsabers down and scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the show today. Every vote counts, so make sure to vote for the 5 speakers or panelists whom you think are the brightest stars on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And don't forget, you can only vote once.